Good evening, friends. Before we settle into tonight's journey, I would love to know where in the world you are listening from. Is it late at night in Texas? A quiet evening in Ohio? A rainy afternoon somewhere in England? Leave a comment and tell me your city. I always enjoy reading where everyone is gathering from. And if you enjoy long, slow explorations of history, consider liking the video and subscribing. Your comments often inspire future stories, and they help build a community of curious people who enjoy wandering through the forgotten corners of the past. Now, dim the lights, get comfortable, and imagine a world that feels familiar and strange at exactly the same time. Because tonight, we are traveling back to the 1950s. A decade remembered for shiny automobiles, smiling families, television sets glowing in living rooms, and a sense of optimism after the hardships of World War II. But beneath those cheerful photographs and nostalgic memories was another reality. A reality filled with habits, products, and everyday customs that would shock many people today. Some were dangerous. Some were unhealthy. Some were simply accepted without question. And perhaps the strangest part is that millions of ordinary people never thought twice about them. So settle in as we explore disturbing things that were completely normal in the 1950s. The morning begins before sunrise. A father rises from bed in a modest American suburb. He shaves, dresses, and prepares for work. Before breakfast, he reaches for a cigarette. This is not unusual. In fact, it is expected. Throughout the United States and much of the English-speaking world, smoking is woven into daily life so thoroughly that many people hardly notice it. Advertisements appear in newspapers, magazines, and on television. Doctors appear in some cigarette advertisements. Celebrities promote cigarette brands. Athletes endorse them. Smoking happens in offices, restaurants, hospitals, trains, airplanes, movie theaters, and schools. Children grow up surrounded by cigarette smoke from the moment they are born. A family might sit together at dinner while both parents smoke. Guests arriving at a home are often offered cigarettes alongside coffee. Many offices keep ashtrays on every desk. Today it may seem impossible to imagine. Yet during the 1950s, cigarette consumption reached extraordinary levels. Scientific evidence linking smoking and cancer was beginning to emerge, but public understanding remained limited. Tobacco companies fought aggressively to preserve public confidence. Many smokers genuinely believed cigarettes were harmless. Some even believed certain brands were healthier than others. As smoke drifts through kitchens, living rooms, and workplaces, another disturbing reality exists inside the home. Paint. Fresh paint covers walls, toys, furniture, and household items. Parents admire bright colors decorating children's bedrooms. What many do not realize is that countless products contain lead. Lead-based paint had been common for decades. Children sometimes chew painted toys or window frames. Tiny flakes of paint fall onto floors. Dust circulates through homes. The dangers of lead poisoning were not completely unknown, but awareness remained far lower than it is today. Many families never considered that ordinary household materials could quietly harm children. Outside, children spend long hours playing. Few helmets exist. Seatbelts are rare. Playgrounds often feature towering metal structures built directly over hard surfaces. Kids climb high ladders. They swing from bars several feet above packed dirt or concrete. Broken bones happen. Concussions happen. Parents worry, of course, but society generally accepts a higher level of physical risk than would be tolerated today. A child might disappear for hours on a bicycle without anyone knowing exactly where he has gone. Entire neighborhoods function almost like giant playgrounds. Freedom is abundant. Safety regulations are not. As the day continues, another invisible threat surrounds nearly everyone. Asbestos. The material seems almost magical. It resists heat. It insulates buildings. It appears in schools, factories, homes, ceiling tiles, pipes, and countless consumer products. Workers handle asbestos regularly. Construction crews install it. Families live around it. Many people spend years breathing fibers without any understanding of long-term consequences. The illnesses associated with asbestos exposure often take decades to appear. In the 1950s, those future tragedies remain largely unseen. Meanwhile, in hospitals across America, a different practice unfolds. X-rays are used with surprising frequency. Some shoe stores even possess machines known as fluoroscopes. Customers place their feet inside the device while looking through viewing lenses. Parents bring children to shoe stores. The machine produces an X-ray image showing how shoes fit. People find it fascinating. Modern readers may find it alarming. Repeated radiation exposure from these devices later becomes a significant concern. At the time, however, the technology feels modern and exciting. Like many inventions of the era, it carries a sense of trust. If science created it, surely it must be beneficial. Or so many people assume. Even household cleaning products reveal another side of 1950s life. Powerful chemicals are often stored beneath sinks. Child-proof packaging is uncommon. Warning labels are limited compared to modern standards. Young children sometimes gain access to substances that would now require extensive safety precautions. Manufacturers focus heavily on effectiveness. Consumer safety regulations remain far less developed than they would become later. Yet despite these dangers, families often remember the decade warmly. Photographs show smiling faces, vacations, birthday parties, new cars, barbecues, television evenings. The contrast creates an interesting puzzle. How can a decade feel so comforting while containing so many practices that appear troubling today? Part of the answer lies in perspective. People rarely experience history knowing which habits future generations will condemn. Most individuals simply live according to the knowledge available at the time. They trust experts. They trust institutions. They trust products lining store shelves. Many dangerous practices seem perfectly reasonable because everyone around them accepts them. And that may be the most unsettling lesson of all. The people of the 1950s often believed they were living in an age of remarkable progress. New technologies appeared constantly. Scientific discoveries transformed daily life. Consumer goods flooded stores. The future seemed bright. Yet hidden beneath that optimism were risks quietly accumulating year after year. Risks that would only become fully visible much later. As evening settles across the neighborhood, television screens flicker behind living room curtains. Children finish homework. Parents relax after work. Cigarette smoke curls toward the ceiling. A freshly painted wall dries nearby. A bottle of strong chemicals sits beneath the kitchen sink. Everything feels normal. Everything feels safe. And almost nobody realizes how many ordinary parts of everyday life will one day be viewed with disbelief. And almost nobody realizes how many ordinary parts of everyday life will one day be viewed with disbelief. The television continues glowing softly in the corner of the room. For many families in the 1950s, television is still a relatively new presence. It is exciting, modern, a symbol of progress. Parents gather around it after dinner, children sit cross-legged on the floor, and advertisers quickly discover that they have found one of the most powerful tools ever created. What appears between programs is often as important as the programs themselves. Commercials. And many of those commercials promote products that would seem shocking today. Cigarettes remain among the most heavily advertised items in America. Some advertisements suggest that smoking helps people relax. Others imply sophistication, popularity, or success. Many feature smiling families and attractive professionals. Certain campaigns even reference doctors, creating an impression of medical approval. The average viewer has little reason to doubt these messages. Advertising regulations are far less restrictive than modern audiences are accustomed to. Companies enjoy tremendous freedom in the claims they make. As a result, consumers often place remarkable trust in marketing. That trust extends far beyond tobacco. Household products frequently promise extraordinary benefits. Medicines, cleaning supplies, and food products are promoted with confidence that would later face much stricter scrutiny. For ordinary families, advertisements become a major source of information. Yet not all information is accurate. As the evening passes, children may reach for a soft drink from the refrigerator. Sugar consumption during the 1950s remains extremely high. Manufacturers add sugar to numerous products. Breakfast cereals, desserts, beverages, and snacks often contain large amounts. Health concerns related to excessive sugar consumption receive far less public attention than they do today. Nutrition science continues developing. Consumers generally focus more on convenience, taste, and affordability. The modern language of calories, processed foods, and long-term dietary risks is not yet part of everyday conversation. Nearby, another familiar object sits quietly in many kitchens. A metal container used to store pesticides. Chemical pesticides become increasingly common after World War II. Farmers, homeowners, and public officials embrace them enthusiastically. One substance in particular gains widespread popularity: DDT. At first, it appears revolutionary. It helps control insects and agricultural pests. Many people view it as a scientific triumph. The chemical is sprayed in neighborhoods, parks, farms, and even directly around homes. Children play outside shortly after treatments. Families rarely worry. The environmental and health consequences that later become major concerns have not yet entered public consciousness. People see results: fewer insects, healthier crops, cleaner surroundings. The hidden costs remain largely invisible. Meanwhile, in schools across America, another accepted practice unfolds: corporal punishment. Teachers possess authority that would surprise many modern parents. In numerous schools, physical discipline remains a normal disciplinary tool. Students who misbehave may receive punishment involving paddles or other forms of physical correction. Many parents support the practice. Many educators defend it. The belief that strict discipline builds character is deeply rooted in society. Children often learn not only academic lessons but also obedience and conformity. Questioning authority is generally discouraged. For many young people, school becomes a place where respect is expected and punishment can be immediate. The social atmosphere reflects broader cultural values of the era. Conformity matters. Standing out can bring unwanted attention. Throughout much of the decade, people feel pressure to fit accepted social expectations. Families strive to appear respectable. Neighbors observe one another. Communities maintain strong ideas about proper behavior. Someone who dresses differently, thinks differently, or lives differently may face significant criticism. This pressure affects countless aspects of life: personal appearance, career choices, family roles, political beliefs, social relationships. The 1950s are often remembered as stable years, but stability sometimes comes at the cost of individual freedom. As night deepens, imagine walking through an American city. Streetlights illuminate sidewalks. Cars pass by with enormous chrome bumpers and sweeping designs. Yet one detail immediately stands out. Almost nobody is wearing a seatbelt. In fact, many cars do not even include them. Automobile safety standards remain minimal compared to modern expectations. Manufacturers focus heavily on style, power, and comfort. Safety engineering receives far less attention. Large steering columns, hard dashboards, and sharp interior surfaces are common. In serious collisions, these features can become deadly. Accidents claim thousands of lives each year. Yet many people view automobile deaths as an unfortunate but unavoidable consequence of modern transportation. The safety revolution that later transforms vehicle design has not yet arrived. Children are particularly vulnerable. Many ride in cars without any restraints at all. Some stand on seats. Some sit on parents' laps. Others move freely around the vehicle during travel. What seems astonishing today feels completely ordinary then. The same pattern appears in countless areas of daily life. People simply accept risks that later generations decide are unacceptable. At workplaces, another disturbing reality exists. Industrial accidents occur with alarming frequency. Factory workers often operate dangerous machinery with limited protective equipment. Construction workers climb high structures without modern safety harnesses. Mining remains hazardous. Manufacturing plants expose employees to chemicals and dust that later become known health threats. Labor protections have improved compared to earlier decades, but many modern workplace standards do not yet exist. Employers and employees alike often view danger as part of the job. In some industries, serious injuries are tragically common. Yet these risks rarely dominate public discussion. Economic growth becomes the focus. Productivity becomes the focus. The nation is building, expanding, and consuming. Danger often remains in the background. Across the Atlantic, similar patterns appear throughout much of Britain. Post-war reconstruction continues. Industrial work remains central to many communities. Coal mining, manufacturing, and heavy industry shape daily life. Workers face occupational hazards that future generations would find difficult to accept. Yet these industries provide livelihoods for millions. The balance between economic necessity and personal safety frequently favors production. Back in American homes, countless products contain substances now heavily regulated or banned. Furniture treatments, insulation materials, cleaning compounds, cosmetics. Consumers rarely question ingredients. If a product is sold in a respected store, most people assume it has been properly evaluated. This trust in institutions defines much of the decade. Government agencies, major corporations, scientists, doctors, and educators generally command significant public confidence. For many citizens, expert authority feels dependable. That trust helps explain why potentially dangerous products often spread so widely before concerns gain attention. Near midnight, neighborhoods grow quiet. Television screens switch off one by one. Children sleep peacefully. Parents prepare for another workday. The houses look calm. The streets look calm. The decade itself often appears calm when viewed through old photographs. But beneath that peaceful surface are countless practices that modern society would eventually challenge, regulate, or abandon altogether. And some of the most disturbing examples have nothing to do with chemicals, cigarettes, or consumer products. They involve the ways people treated one another. Those realities are waiting just ahead. Those realities are waiting just ahead. As the sun rises over another ordinary morning in the 1950s, millions of people begin their routines believing they live in a fair and modern society. Many genuinely do. They see expanding suburbs, new schools, better appliances, and economic growth. Compared to the hardships of the Great Depression and World War II, life often appears more comfortable and secure. Yet comfort is not experienced equally. For many Americans, some of the most disturbing realities of the decade are woven directly into the structure of everyday life. A Black family traveling across parts of the United States may spend hours carefully planning a journey, not because of weather, not because of fuel, but because they need to know where they can safely eat, sleep, and stop along the road. Segregation remains a fact of daily life throughout much of the country. Separate schools, separate waiting rooms, separate restaurants, separate drinking fountains, separate restrooms, separate sections on buses. What seems shocking to modern observers is simply the normal order of things for millions of people living during the decade. Children grow up surrounded by these rules. Many never question them because they have known nothing else. Signs directing people to separate facilities appear so frequently that they become part of the background scenery. For those who suffer under such systems, however, the effects are impossible to ignore. A family may drive past dozens of businesses that refuse service. A student may attend an underfunded school simply because of race. A qualified worker may face barriers that have nothing to do with ability. These experiences are not unusual exceptions. They are built into daily life. The disturbing reality is not only that segregation exists, it is that so many people accept it as ordinary. At the same time, women face a different set of expectations. Throughout popular culture, magazines, advertisements, television programs, and films promote a particular vision of womanhood. A successful woman is often portrayed primarily as a wife, mother, and homemaker. Many women embrace these roles willingly and find fulfillment within them. Yet opportunities outside those expectations can be limited. Certain professions remain dominated by men. Promotion opportunities may be restricted. Educational ambitions sometimes encounter resistance. In countless households, women are expected to manage cooking, cleaning, childcare, and household responsibilities regardless of personal aspirations. A woman who openly challenges these expectations may encounter criticism from family, neighbors, employers, or society at large. Today, discussions about gender roles are common. In the 1950s, questioning traditional expectations can be far more difficult. The pressure to conform remains powerful. Conformity itself becomes one of the defining features of the era. Imagine a neighborhood where nearly every house looks similar. Lawns are carefully maintained. Families strive to project respectability. Neighbors observe one another closely. The desire to fit in affects clothing, hairstyles, careers, religious participation, and social behavior. Someone viewed as unusual may quickly become the subject of gossip. A teenager with unconventional interests may attract attention. An adult expressing unpopular opinions may face suspicion. Being different often carries consequences. For many people, blending into the community feels safer than standing apart. This atmosphere grows even stronger because of fears that spread throughout the decade. Fear of communism. The Cold War shapes daily life in profound ways. Tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union influence politics, education, entertainment, and public opinion. Many Americans fear communist infiltration. Government investigations attract national attention. Accusations can damage careers and reputations. In some cases, individuals lose jobs because of suspected political beliefs or associations. The fear becomes so widespread that people sometimes hesitate to express controversial opinions. Being labeled disloyal can have serious consequences. For ordinary citizens, these anxieties become part of the background of daily life. School children practice emergency drills. Families discuss international tensions. Newspaper headlines frequently reference geopolitical threats. The possibility of nuclear war feels frighteningly real. And nowhere is that fear more visible than in the preparations made for atomic attack. Children sit at school desks. A teacher gives instructions. The students practice duck and cover drills. They crouch beneath desks. They cover their heads. The exercise is intended to prepare them for possible nuclear explosion. Modern observers often view these drills with disbelief. The destructive power of nuclear weapons is already known. Many experts later question how effective such measures would actually be during a major attack. Yet at the time, these exercises provide a sense of preparedness, a sense that something can be done. For children, however, the message is unmistakable. A catastrophic war may happen, and it may happen at any time. Imagine carrying that awareness throughout childhood. Growing up under the shadow of atomic weapons becomes one of the defining experiences of the era. Meanwhile, many families build fallout shelters. Magazines publish survival advice. Government agencies distribute information. The nuclear threat remains a constant presence, even during peaceful moments. A picnic in the park, a baseball game, a family dinner, all occur against the backdrop of a world capable of unprecedented destruction. Yet daily life continues. People adapt. Human beings possess a remarkable ability to normalize almost anything. That same ability appears in another troubling aspect of 1950s culture: mental health treatment. Many conditions that would today receive compassionate medical attention are poorly understood. Individuals struggling with depression, anxiety, trauma, or other mental health challenges often face stigma. Seeking help can be difficult. Public understanding remains limited. Some treatments used during earlier decades continue influencing psychiatric care. Large institutions house many patients. Conditions inside certain facilities may be overcrowded and restrictive. Families sometimes hide mental health struggles rather than discuss them openly. The language people use reflects this lack of understanding. What modern society recognizes as medical conditions may instead be viewed as personal weaknesses or character flaws. As a result, many individuals suffer quietly. The silence surrounding mental health becomes its own burden. Elsewhere, children with developmental disabilities or learning differences often encounter limited support. Educational systems are not equipped to provide many services considered standard today. Families may receive little guidance. Students may be misunderstood or excluded. Public awareness remains low. Again, what is striking is not simply that these challenges exist. It is that society frequently treats them as normal, accepted, unavoidable, not worthy of serious public discussion. As afternoon sunlight falls across suburban streets, children ride bicycles and play baseball. The scene looks peaceful, and in many ways it is. Yet history often works this way. A pleasant surface can conceal difficult realities. The smiling family photographs preserved in albums rarely capture discrimination. They rarely capture social pressure. They rarely capture fear of nuclear war. They rarely capture the isolation experienced by people who do not fit society's expectations. Photographs freeze happy moments. The harder truths remain outside the frame. And some of the most surprising examples of normal behavior in the 1950s are still waiting ahead. Because even the food people ate, the medicines they trusted, and the products they gave to their children carried risks that would only become fully understood years later. Because even the food people ate, the medicines they trusted, and the products they gave to their children carried risks that would only become fully understood years later. The afternoon drifts onward. A mother stands in a bright kitchen preparing lunch. Sunlight filters through the curtains. A radio plays softly somewhere in the background. The refrigerator hums quietly, a symbol of modern convenience that many families proudly own. The meal she prepares looks wholesome. And by the standards of the time, it certainly is. Yet many assumptions about nutrition during the 1950s differ dramatically from those held today. Doctors and nutrition experts continue learning about the long-term effects of diet. Public understanding remains incomplete. Foods now associated with health concerns are often promoted as beneficial or at least harmless. Butter is abundant. Sugar is abundant. Processed foods become increasingly common. Convenience is celebrated. Manufacturers promise that modern science has transformed food preparation forever. Frozen dinners gain popularity. Packaged meals save time. Canned foods fill kitchen shelves. Advertising presents these developments as evidence of progress. For busy families, they often are. But future generations will examine some of these products with a more critical eye. Artificial ingredients, preservatives, and highly processed foods become part of everyday consumption long before many of their long-term health implications are widely discussed. Children consume brightly marketed snacks. Sugary breakfast cereals appear in kitchens across the country. Sweetened beverages become routine. Very few parents view these products as especially concerning. After all, respected companies manufacture them. Television commercials recommend them. Stores prominently display them. The assumption that commercially available products must be safe remains deeply rooted. That trust extends to medicine cabinets as well. Inside countless homes sit bottles of pills, powders, syrups, and tonics. Many medications available during the decade receive far less testing than modern consumers might expect. Regulatory systems continue evolving. Safety standards continue evolving. Some drugs reach the market with limited understanding of long-term effects. Doctors generally prescribe treatments with the knowledge available at the time. Patients place tremendous confidence in medical professionals. Often that trust is deserved. Medical science has made extraordinary advances. Antibiotics save lives. Vaccines protect communities. New treatments offer hope for conditions that previously had few options. Yet medicine remains an evolving field. What appears safe in one decade may later prove harmful. History repeatedly demonstrates this uncomfortable truth. A patient takes medication recommended by a trusted physician. Years later, researchers discover previously unknown risks. No one intended harm. Knowledge simply had not yet caught up with reality. This pattern appears again and again throughout the 1950s. Meanwhile, many children spend afternoons exploring neighborhoods, fields, construction sites, and vacant lots. The level of independence granted to young people would surprise many parents today. Children often travel considerable distances without supervision. Parents may not know their exact location for hours. The expectation is simple: be home before dark. The freedom can be exhilarating. It can also be dangerous. Young people encounter abandoned buildings, industrial areas, rivers, railroad tracks, and busy roads with relatively little oversight. In many communities, accidents involving children are accepted as unfortunate realities of growing up. Scrapes, broken bones, and injuries are common stories shared among families. The modern culture of constant supervision has not yet emerged. Risk is woven into childhood itself. Not all dangers are obvious. Some exist quietly within the products children use every day. Toy manufacturing standards differ significantly from modern regulations. Small parts, sharp edges, toxic materials, and flammable components sometimes appear in products marketed directly to children. Parents generally trust manufacturers. Government oversight remains more limited than it would later become. As a result, some products reach store shelves that would never pass modern safety requirements. At the same time, many young boys receive toy guns. Many young girls receive toy household appliances. The toys themselves reflect broader social expectations. Children learn cultural roles through play. Boys are encouraged toward adventure, competition, and military themes. Girls are often encouraged toward domestic activities and caregiving. These assumptions feel natural to most people at the time. Few pause to question them. Social norms seem permanent when one is living inside them. During the late afternoon, another remarkable feature of 1950s life becomes visible: air pollution. Factories operate across industrial cities. Power plants generate electricity. Automobiles fill expanding road networks. Coal remains a major energy source in many regions. Smoke rises from countless chimneys. In certain cities, thick smog becomes common. Residents often accept polluted air as a sign of prosperity. Industry means jobs. Jobs mean economic growth. Economic growth means opportunity. The relationship between pollution and long-term health concerns receives less public attention than it would later. People notice dirty air. Many do not yet fully understand its consequences. Photographs from industrial areas sometimes show skies darkened by smoke. Today, such scenes may appear alarming. At the time, many view them as evidence of productive economies. The same attitude often applies to workplace exposure. Factory workers encounter chemicals, dust, and fumes regularly. Protective masks are not always provided. Ventilation systems vary greatly. Long-term occupational illnesses remain poorly understood in many industries. Workers focus on earning a living. Employers focus on production. The hidden health costs may not appear until decades later. Even household chores carry risks. Women cleaning homes frequently use strong chemical products with minimal protective equipment. Gloves are not always worn. Windows may remain closed. Product labels often provide fewer warnings than modern consumers expect. The assumption persists that if something is sold legally, it must be reasonably safe. As evening approaches, families gather once again around televisions. The programs themselves reveal another aspect of 1950s life. Many forms of representation that modern audiences consider important are limited or absent. Television frequently presents an idealized version of society. Most families shown on screen fit narrow social expectations. Complex realities often remain invisible. For viewers, these programs help reinforce cultural norms. They show people how society believes they should behave, what they should value, how families should look, how men should act, how women should act, what success should resemble. Entertainment becomes a powerful teacher, not because viewers consciously study it, but because repeated images gradually shape assumptions about normal life. As darkness settles outside, porch lights begin appearing one by one along quiet streets. The decade often looks peaceful from a distance. Many people genuinely remember it fondly. For some, it represents stability, opportunity, and community. Those memories are real. Yet history is rarely simple. The same decade that produced comforting memories also normalized behaviors, products, and social systems that later generations would question, challenge, and sometimes condemn. And perhaps nowhere is that contradiction more visible than in the world of medicine, childbirth, and healthcare, where practices considered entirely routine could sometimes place patients in situations that modern hospitals would never allow. And perhaps nowhere is that contradiction more visible than in the world of medicine, childbirth, and healthcare, where practices considered entirely routine could sometimes place patients in situations that modern hospitals would never allow. The evening settles quietly across America. Streetlights glow over suburban roads. Television programs reach their final broadcasts of the night. In hospitals, however, the work never stops. Doctors move through brightly lit corridors. Nurses check patients. New babies enter the world. The medical profession of the 1950s is respected immensely. For many families, doctors represent authority, expertise, and trust. Their recommendations are rarely questioned. Yet some practices that seem perfectly ordinary at the time would surprise modern patients. Consider childbirth. Today, many parents expect to participate actively in the birth process. Mothers often receive extensive information about options, risks, and procedures. Fathers or partners are commonly present during delivery. In much of the 1950s, the experience can be very different. Many fathers spend the birth waiting elsewhere in the hospital. Some wait in designated rooms, pacing floors and smoking cigarettes while news travels slowly through hospital staff. The delivery room itself often remains a place where medical professionals control nearly every aspect of the process. Mothers frequently receive medications intended to reduce pain and anxiety. One commonly used approach involves combinations of drugs that sometimes leave women with little memory of the birth itself. Many patients trust the process completely. Doctors believe they are providing modern care. Yet later generations begin asking whether mothers should have greater awareness, participation, and choice during childbirth. What feels progressive in one decade may seem restrictive in another. Nearby, newborn babies spend their first hours in large hospital nurseries. Rows of infants lie behind glass windows while family members observe from outside. This arrangement feels perfectly normal. Parents often have limited direct contact compared to modern practices emphasizing immediate bonding and skin-to-skin care. Medical thinking evolves over time. Procedures once viewed as efficient and professional gradually give way to new understandings of infant development and parental attachment. The story repeats throughout healthcare. Knowledge grows. Practices change. Assumptions shift. Hospitals themselves can appear surprisingly different from modern facilities. Smoking remains common even in medical environments. Visitors smoke. Patients smoke. In some cases, healthcare workers smoke. Ashtrays may be visible in areas where modern hospitals would never permit them. The contradiction seems extraordinary today. Yet the dangers of smoking are not yet fully accepted by the public. The habit remains deeply woven into everyday life. Many physicians smoke themselves. Many patients never associate cigarettes with serious illness. It is simply part of the culture. Another accepted reality involves medical imaging. The public remains fascinated by radiation technologies. X-rays symbolize scientific advancement. Doctors use them frequently. Consumers encounter them in unexpected places. The excitement surrounding new technology often outweighs concerns about long-term exposure. People trust innovation. They trust science. And sometimes that trust arrives before a complete understanding of risks. Throughout the decade, antibiotics continue transforming medicine. Their impact is remarkable. Diseases that once killed countless people become treatable. Infections that terrified earlier generations can often be controlled. The success is so dramatic that many begin viewing antibiotics almost as miracle drugs. Unfortunately, this success occasionally encourages overconfidence. Medications may be prescribed more freely than future medical guidelines would recommend. the long-term challenge of antibiotic resistance remains largely invisible. Once again, society celebrates a breakthrough before fully understanding all its consequences. The pattern feels familiar. It appears in food, in manufacturing, in consumer products, and in medicine. The future often reveals complications hidden beneath today's optimism. Away from hospitals, another part of life unfolds that modern observers might find surprising. Many households store firearms with relatively few security precautions. In rural areas especially, guns are common tools used for hunting, farming, and recreation. Children sometimes receive firearms training at young ages. In many communities, this attracts little concern. The culture surrounding firearms differs significantly depending on region, family tradition, and local customs. What remains notable is how casually weapons are sometimes integrated into everyday life. Storage practices that modern safety experts strongly discourage may be considered completely ordinary. Parents rely heavily on personal responsibility. Formal safety campaigns remain less widespread. Similarly, household hazards often receive little attention. Electrical systems are improving but not always equipped with modern protections. Building codes continue evolving. Child-proofing products are uncommon. Staircases, windows, appliances, and household chemicals frequently lack safeguards familiar to modern families. Accidents happen. Sometimes serious ones. Yet many risks are accepted as unavoidable features of daily life. A phrase often heard throughout the era suggests that adversity builds character. This belief influences parenting, education, and community attitudes. People frequently tolerate conditions that later generations would attempt to eliminate. As midnight approaches, factories continue operating in industrial districts. Shift workers arrive. Machinery roars. Production lines move steadily. The post-war economy is booming. Consumer demand is enormous. New homes, automobiles, appliances, and electronics flow into the marketplace. The prosperity is real, but so are the sacrifices. Workers frequently endure long hours in environments that modern occupational safety inspectors would scrutinize closely. Hearing protection is limited. Exposure to industrial noise can be extreme. Many workers gradually lose portions of their hearing over years of employment. For some, the damage becomes apparent only later in life. The same is true of exposure to chemicals, dust, and airborne particles. Health consequences may take decades to emerge. A worker can spend years believing everything is fine. Then retirement arrives. Medical problems appear. Only much later do connections become clear. History often hides its consequences in slow motion. What seems harmless today may reveal its effects 30 years later. And that delay makes danger difficult to recognize. The people living through the 1950s do not possess the advantage of hindsight. They cannot see future research. They cannot read future studies. They cannot know which accepted practices will eventually become cautionary tales. They are simply living ordinary lives, going to work, raising children, watching television, trusting experts, buying products, following the customs of their time. The unsettling truth is that future generations may someday look back on our own era with similar disbelief. They may wonder how certain risks escaped notice. They may question habits we consider completely normal. That possibility makes the history of the 1950s feel surprisingly relevant. Because the decade is not merely a collection of outdated practices. It is a reminder of how easily societies can normalize things that later appear troubling. And nowhere does that lesson become more visible than in the schools, homes, and everyday discipline imposed on children, where many experiences considered ordinary would be viewed very differently by modern parents and educators. And nowhere does that lesson become more visible than in the schools, homes, and everyday discipline imposed on children, where many experiences considered ordinary would be viewed very differently by modern parents and educators. Morning arrives once more. School buses travel through neighborhoods. Children carrying books and lunch containers make their way toward classrooms. Teachers prepare lessons. Principals greet students near entrances. To many Americans, schools of the 1950s represent order, discipline, and structure. And indeed, discipline is everywhere. The classroom atmosphere often differs dramatically from what many students experience today. Teachers command authority that is rarely questioned. Students are expected to remain quiet. They sit in straight rows. They raise hands before speaking. Rules are clear. Obedience is valued. Questioning authority can be interpreted as disrespect. For many children, this environment feels completely normal. Parents generally support teachers. If a child receives punishment at school, many families assume the teacher had a good reason. The idea that parents might regularly challenge school discipline is far less common. One of the most startling differences involves physical punishment. Across many American schools, corporal punishment remains accepted. A student who talks back, breaks rules, or behaves disruptively may face punishment involving paddles or other physical discipline. Some schools maintain formal procedures. Others leave decisions largely to administrators. The practice attracts little controversy in many communities. Parents often experience similar treatment during their own childhoods. The cycle continues because it feels familiar. Today, debates about children's emotional well-being, trauma, and positive reinforcement are widespread. In much of the 1950s, discipline tends to emphasize compliance, order, and consequences. Many adults sincerely believe this approach builds responsibility and character. Yet, countless former students later remember fear as a significant part of school life. Fear of punishment, fear of embarrassment, fear of authority. The emotional impact is not always discussed openly. At home, similar attitudes often prevail. Parents generally exercise broad authority over family life. Children are expected to respect adult decisions. Many households operate according to strict rules: bedtimes, chores, behavior standards, family responsibilities. The expectations are clear and often non-negotiable. A child who disobeys may face consequences that modern parenting experts would strongly discourage. Physical discipline remains common throughout much of society. Spanking and other forms of corporal punishment are widely accepted parenting tools. Many adults view them as normal methods of correcting behavior. Few public discussions examine possible long-term psychological effects. The prevailing assumption is simple. Children must learn obedience. The methods used to achieve that goal receive relatively little scrutiny. Meanwhile, many children navigate challenges that adults rarely recognize. Bullying exists in schools just as it does today. Yet, institutional responses are often limited. Students experiencing harassment may be told to ignore it, endure it, or fight back themselves. Formal anti-bullying programs do not yet exist in the way modern schools implement them. A child struggling socially may receive little support. The expectation is often that young people should solve such problems independently. This philosophy extends beyond social conflicts. Children are generally expected to become resilient through experience. Difficulties are viewed as opportunities to toughen character. Sometimes that approach succeeds. Sometimes it leaves lasting wounds. The distinction is not always obvious at the time. Across America, school buildings themselves reveal another surprising reality. Safety standards differ significantly from those of modern campuses. Fire codes continue evolving. Emergency preparedness differs. Building materials that later raise concerns remain common. Asbestos insulation, lead paint, and other hazardous substances can often be found in educational facilities. Students and teachers spend years inside these environments without recognizing potential risks. Again, the dangers remain largely invisible. People trust the buildings. They trust the institutions. They assume that if a school exists, it must be safe. That trust reflects a broader feature of the decade: faith in authority, faith in expertise, faith in systems. Sometimes justified, sometimes misplaced. As the school day continues, another aspect of childhood emerges: health education. Medical examinations at schools often look different from those conducted today. Hearing tests, vision screenings, vaccinations, and various health initiatives expand throughout the period. Public health efforts achieve important successes. Yet awareness of children's emotional and psychological needs remains comparatively limited. A child struggling with anxiety, learning difficulties, attention disorders, or developmental differences may simply be labeled difficult, lazy, disruptive, or slow. The vocabulary and understanding that modern educators possess often do not exist. As a result, many students pass through school carrying burdens that few adults recognize. Some thrive despite the challenges. Others quietly fall behind. Their difficulties remain misunderstood. After school, many children return to neighborhoods where they enjoy remarkable freedom. Parents often encourage independence from an early age. Young people walk considerable distances alone, ride bicycles across town, explore woods, fields, and construction sites, spend entire afternoons away from direct supervision. The freedom can create confidence and self-reliance. It can also expose children to dangers that would alarm many modern families. The balance between independence and protection looks very different in the 1950s. Adults generally worry less about constant supervision. Children are expected to learn through experience. Sometimes that experience includes risk. As evening approaches, families gather around dinner tables. Conversations often reflect another powerful force shaping childhood: social conformity. Children quickly learn what behavior is considered acceptable, what clothing is appropriate, what ambitions are encouraged, what beliefs are expected. The pressure can be subtle: a raised eyebrow, a critical comment, a teacher's disapproval, a neighbor's gossip. Over time, these signals teach young people how society expects them to behave. Those who fit comfortably within social norms may barely notice the pressure. Those who do not often feel it intensely. A child interested in unconventional hobbies. A teenager questioning cultural expectations. A student who appears different from peers. All may encounter challenges that remain largely invisible to outsiders. The 1950s are frequently remembered as an era of strong communities. And, in many respects they are. Neighbors know one another. Families participate in local activities. Churches, schools, and civic organizations play central roles. Community bonds can provide support and belonging. Yet strong communities can also enforce conformity. The same social networks that offer comfort may discourage difference. The same traditions that provide stability may limit personal freedom. History rarely presents simple choices between good and bad. More often, it reveals complicated trade-offs. As darkness settles over neighborhoods once again, children finish homework and prepare for bed. Many will remember these years fondly. Others will remember fear, pressure, exclusion, or misunderstanding. Both memories can be true at the same time. That complexity makes the decade fascinating. Behind every nostalgic photograph lies a fuller story. And some of the most disturbing realities of the 1950s are still hidden within places people trusted the most, inside their homes, where everyday household products and routines often exposed families to risks they never imagined were present. And some of the most disturbing realities of the 1950s are still hidden within places people trusted the most, inside their homes, where everyday household products and routines often exposed families to risks they never imagined were present. The front door closes. A father arrives home from work. Children finish playing outside. Dinner is being prepared in the kitchen. Nothing about the scene appears unusual. In fact, it looks almost identical to the ideal family image promoted in magazines and television advertisements throughout the decade. The home is supposed to be the safest place in the world, a private refuge from uncertainty, a place of comfort and protection. Yet many 1950s homes contain hazards hiding in plain sight. The family may never notice them. Visitors certainly do not. They are simply part of ordinary life. In the living room, colorful paint covers walls and woodwork. The paint looks attractive, fresh, modern. What few homeowners fully understand is that many paints contain lead. Lead-based paint has been used for generations. Manufacturers value its durability and appearance. Parents paint nurseries. Schools paint classrooms. Landlords paint apartments. The practice feels completely normal. Children sometimes touch painted surfaces. They place fingers in their mouths. Paint chips fall unnoticed onto floors and windowsills. The long-term dangers remain largely hidden from public awareness. A family can live for years surrounded by materials that later generations would remove with extensive safety precautions. Nearby, another common household material waits quietly behind walls and ceilings: asbestos. Builders praise it. Manufacturers praise it. Advertisers praise it. Its resistance to heat makes it appear almost miraculous. Insulation, floor tiles, ceiling materials, pipe coverings. Numerous products contain asbestos. Homeowners rarely question its presence. Why would they? Experts recommend it. Construction companies use it. Stores sell it openly. Only later will the severe health consequences associated with asbestos exposure become widely understood. For now, it remains another trusted feature of modern living. In the kitchen, a mother reaches beneath the sink for cleaning supplies. The cabinet contains powerful chemicals: bleaches, solvents, drain cleaners, polishes, pesticides. Many sit within easy reach of curious children. Child-resistant packaging is far less common than modern consumers expect. Warning labels are often limited. Bright containers may appear harmless. Some products even carry pleasant fragrances that disguise their danger. Accidental poisonings occur throughout the decade. Yet public safety campaigns remain relatively limited compared to those of later years. Families rely heavily on common sense and supervision. Formal safeguards are fewer. The responsibility rests largely on parents. Another everyday danger hangs quietly in the air: secondhand smoke. The father reading a newspaper may smoke. The mother preparing dinner may smoke. Guests may smoke. Teenagers may eventually smoke. Ashtrays appear throughout the house. Cigarette smoke drifts into curtains, carpets, furniture, and clothing. Babies sleep in homes filled with tobacco smoke. Children complete homework while adults smoke nearby. No special concern surrounds this practice. For millions of families, it is simply normal life. The concept of protecting children from secondhand smoke exposure remains far from mainstream understanding. Even hospitals, restaurants, and airplanes allow smoking. The home is no exception. The air itself often contains risks that nobody recognizes. As evening continues, another familiar appliance hums quietly: the television. Families trust what appears on the screen. Advertisements influence purchasing decisions across the nation. Companies understand this power. Television commercials often present products as symbols of progress and success. The modern home becomes a showcase of consumer culture. New appliances promise convenience. New chemicals promise cleanliness. New materials promise durability. New foods promise simplicity. The future appears to arrive through shopping. Yet consumers rarely possess the information necessary to evaluate every claim critically. Many products enter homes because respected companies endorse them. Trust becomes a form of currency, and sometimes that trust is misplaced. The family medicine cabinet offers another revealing example. Open the small mirrored door and examine the contents. Pain relievers, cold remedies, sleeping aids, prescription medications, tonics, various treatments accumulated over time. Storage standards are often casual. Children may know exactly where medications are kept. Safety caps remain uncommon on many containers. The assumption persists that adults will manage risks appropriately. Regulation continues evolving. Public awareness continues evolving. Future decades will introduce many precautions that have not yet become standard. Downstairs in the basement or garage, additional hazards often wait. Paint thinners, gasoline, industrial solvents, pesticides, automotive chemicals. Many homeowners store such substances with little protective equipment. Ventilation may be limited. Protective gloves may not be used. Safety instructions may be brief or absent. People focus on completing tasks efficiently. Potential long-term exposure risks rarely enter the conversation. The average family sees these products as useful tools, not possible health concerns. Outside the home, lawn care and gardening become increasingly popular. Suburban expansion creates millions of yards requiring maintenance. Homeowners embrace fertilizers and pesticides enthusiastically. Many chemicals are marketed as scientific solutions to common problems. Weeds disappear. Insects disappear. Lawns look beautiful. Children and pets often play nearby shortly afterward. Few people stop to ask what effects repeated exposure might have years later. The confidence surrounding chemical products reflects the broader optimism of the age. Science is solving problems. Technology is improving lives. Progress feels unstoppable. Questioning these innovations can seem unnecessary. As darkness settles outside, the family gathers for an evening snack. The refrigerator contains foods that symbolize modern convenience. Processed cheeses, packaged desserts, frozen meals, prepared foods. Advertising celebrates these products as evidence that science has improved everyday life. Busy families appreciate the convenience. Many products are perfectly safe. Others contain ingredients and nutritional profiles that later generations will view differently. Again and again, the pattern repeats. People embrace innovations before understanding every consequence. Not because they are careless, not because they are foolish, because they are human. They make decisions using the information available at the time. The same thing happens throughout history. One generation accepts a practice as ordinary. The next generation questions it. The generation after that may be shocked it ever existed. Midnight approaches. The house becomes quiet. Children sleep upstairs. Parents prepare for bed. The home appears peaceful, safe, comfortable, and in many ways it truly is. Yet hidden behind walls, inside cabinets, beneath floors, and drifting through the air are risks that future decades will spend enormous effort trying to reduce. The disturbing truth is that many of these dangers were not hidden at all. They were sitting in plain sight, accepted because everyone trusted them. And that trust extended far beyond the home itself, reaching into workplaces, factories, and entire industries where millions of people encountered hazards every single day simply by earning a living. And that trust extended far beyond the home itself, reaching into workplaces, factories, and entire industries where millions of people encountered hazards every single day simply by earning a living. Before dawn, alarm clocks ring across America. Factory workers rise from bed. Coal miners prepare for another shift underground. Construction crews gather equipment. Office workers board buses and trains. The economy of the 1950s is booming. New houses appear in growing suburbs. Highways stretch across the landscape. Automobile production surges. Consumer demand seems endless. For many families, steady employment provides opportunities that previous generations could only dream about. Yet beneath this prosperity lies a reality that modern workers might find difficult to imagine. Safety standards exist, but they are often far less comprehensive than those familiar today. In countless workplaces, danger is simply accepted as part of the job. A factory worker enters a manufacturing plant. Machines thunder across the production floor. Metal presses slam rhythmically. Conveyor belts move constantly. The noise is overwhelming. Hearing protection is not always provided. In some facilities, workers spend years exposed to sound levels that gradually damage their hearing. The loss happens slowly, almost invisibly. A person may not notice the effects until decades later. By then, the damage is permanent. Yet during the 1950s, such conditions are often viewed as normal industrial life. Production comes first. The nation is building. The nation is growing. The risks become background noise. Nearby, another worker handles chemicals without the protective equipment modern regulations might require. Gloves may be limited. Respirators may be absent. Protective clothing may be minimal. Workers often trust employers and manufacturers to provide safe environments. Many companies genuinely believe their practices are acceptable according to the knowledge available at the time. But scientific understanding continues evolving. Substances considered harmless may later prove dangerous. The consequences often emerge years after exposure. A worker breathes dust daily. Nothing happens immediately. 20 years pass. 30 years pass. Then illness appears. The connection becomes clear only in hindsight. Few industries demonstrate this pattern more dramatically than mining. Across America and Britain, miners descend underground each day. Coal powers industries. Coal heats homes. Coal fuels economic growth. Mining communities depend upon the work. The labor is difficult. The environment is hazardous. Dust fills the air. Collapses remain a possibility. Explosions occasionally occur. Serious injuries are not rare. Many miners accept these dangers because they provide livelihoods for entire families. The risks become woven into community identity. Children grow up understanding that mining is dangerous. Yet they also understand that it puts food on the table. The balance between danger and necessity is deeply personal. Construction workers face similar realities. Imagine standing atop a steel framework several stories above the ground. Modern safety harnesses are not always present. Protective regulations continue evolving. Workers move confidently through environments that would trigger immediate safety reviews today. Photographs from the era often show men balancing on beams high above city streets. Their skill is undeniable. So is the danger. Many return home safely every night. Some do not. Industrial accidents remain far more common than most modern workers would expect. Yet society frequently treats them as unfortunate but unavoidable aspects of progress. Factories need to operate. Buildings need to rise. Roads need to be built. Growth carries risks. That assumption dominates much of the decade. Even office workers experience conditions that might surprise modern employees. Smoking fills workplaces. Secretaries type letters while cigarette smoke drifts through the room. Meetings occur in smoke-filled conference spaces. Ashtrays sit on desks. Visitors smoke. Managers smoke. Employees smoke. Ventilation standards differ greatly from modern expectations. The air itself becomes part of the workplace environment. For non-smokers, avoiding exposure can be nearly impossible, yet few people question it. It is simply how offices function. As the workday continues, another reality emerges. Gender expectations strongly influence employment opportunities. Many professions remain heavily segregated by sex. Men dominate leadership positions throughout much of the corporate world. Women often encounter barriers to advancement. Certain jobs are considered appropriate for women. Others are considered appropriate for men. These assumptions shape hiring decisions, salaries, promotions, and career opportunities. Many people accept these arrangements without question because they reflect the social norms of the era. What later generations identify as discrimination is often viewed simply as the natural order of things. The same pattern appears across numerous industries. People rarely notice systems that have existed their entire lives. Normality can be remarkably powerful. As afternoon sunlight filters through factory windows and office buildings, workers continue tasks that support one of the strongest economies in modern history. The prosperity is genuine. Many families purchase homes for the first time. Household appliances become more common. Living standards improve. Economic opportunities expand. Yet prosperity and danger often exist side by side. A worker may enjoy financial stability while simultaneously being exposed to risks that future decades will work tirelessly to eliminate. History is full of such contradictions. Progress rarely arrives without complications. Near the end of the shift, workers gather belongings and prepare to return home. Some carry invisible exposures with them: dust on clothing, chemical residue on shoes, particles trapped in fabric. Family members waiting at home have no reason to worry. The worker has no reason to worry. Everything appears normal. And that may be the most unsettling detail of all. The greatest dangers are not always the ones people fear. Sometimes they are the ones nobody notices. The ones hidden inside routine. The ones repeated every day until they feel completely ordinary. As evening falls and families reunite for dinner, another aspect of 1950s life quietly influences millions of people, not in factories or mines, but through the messages they consume every day from television, radio, magazines, and newspapers, where ideas that seem astonishing today are presented as common sense. As evening falls and families reunite for dinner, another aspect of 1950s life quietly influences millions of people, not in factories or mines, but through the messages they consume every day from television, radio, magazines, and newspapers, where ideas that seem astonishing today are presented as common sense. The family gathers around the dinner table. A newspaper rests nearby. A magazine sits on the coffee table. The television will soon come alive in the living room. Everywhere people look, information flows toward them. Advertisements, news reports, entertainment programs, advice columns, public service announcements. Together, they help shape how society understands the world. And in the 1950s, many messages that appear perfectly ordinary at the time would later seem deeply unsettling. Open a popular magazine from the era. The advertisements immediately reveal a different world. A smiling woman proudly presents a cleaning product. Another advertisement promotes cigarettes. Another promotes alcohol. Another encourages consumers to purchase products using claims that modern regulators would likely challenge. The confidence is striking. Companies often make bold promises. Consumers frequently accept them. Advertising culture thrives because trust remains high. Most people assume major brands would not mislead them. This trust creates tremendous influence. Manufacturers do not simply sell products. They help define cultural expectations. What a successful family looks like. What a successful marriage looks like. What a successful life looks like. Repeated messages shape public attitudes in subtle ways. A person may never consciously notice the influence. Yet after seeing similar images thousands of times, assumptions begin to feel natural. Television strengthens this effect. Throughout the decade, television ownership expands rapidly. Families gather around their sets each evening. Programs entertain, educate, and influence. The images shown on screen often present a highly idealized vision of society. Comfortable homes, happy families, clear social roles, predictable solutions. Life appears orderly, stable, reassuring. Many viewers find comfort in these portrayals. Yet reality is often far more complicated. The gap between media images and lived experience can be significant. Families facing financial struggles rarely appear. Social conflicts often remain invisible. Difficult realities affecting marginalized groups receive limited attention. Television does not necessarily create these omissions, but it helps reinforce them. People tend to focus on what they see repeatedly. What remains unseen can be forgotten, or ignored, or misunderstood. Meanwhile, newspapers devote increasing attention to Cold War tensions. Headlines discuss international rivalries, military developments, nuclear weapons, political conflicts. For many readers, these stories become a daily reminder that the world feels uncertain despite post-war prosperity. Children hear adults discussing global threats. Families follow international events closely. The possibility of nuclear war hangs over the decade like a distant storm cloud. Many people try not to dwell on it, yet the fear never completely disappears. Government agencies encourage preparedness. Schools conduct drills. Communities discuss emergency planning. People attempt to normalize the unthinkable. Imagine reading a newspaper article about atomic weapons over breakfast, then leaving for work as though everything is ordinary. Millions do exactly that. Human beings possess an extraordinary ability to adapt to frightening realities. The same adaptation appears in another area of public life. Public attitudes toward mental health. Newspapers and magazines occasionally discuss psychological conditions, yet the language often differs sharply from modern understanding. Misconceptions remain widespread. Many people view mental illness through a lens of stigma and misunderstanding. Families sometimes avoid discussing such struggles openly. Individuals suffering from depression, anxiety, trauma, or other conditions may feel pressure to remain silent. Public conversation remains limited. The result is isolation for countless people. They endure difficulties that society barely acknowledges. Again, the disturbing part is not merely the existence of these problems. It is how normal the silence surrounding them becomes. As evening programs begin on television, advertisements continue shaping public behavior. Children learn what toys they should want. Parents learn what products they should buy. Families learn what lifestyles they should admire. The influence extends beyond shopping. It affects values, expectations, identity. Entire industries invest enormous resources into understanding human behavior and consumer psychology. The goal is not simply to inform. The goal is to persuade. And the techniques become increasingly sophisticated. At the same time, information itself travels differently than it does today. There is no internet, no social media, no instant global communication available in every pocket. Most people receive information from a relatively small number of sources. National television networks, local newspapers, radio stations, magazines. Because information channels are more concentrated, certain messages can spread with remarkable consistency. A popular television program may be watched by enormous portions of the population simultaneously. Shared cultural experiences become common. So, do shared assumptions. If respected authorities repeat an idea often enough, it can become difficult to challenge. This dynamic plays an important role in many disturbing practices of the era. People trust institutions. Institutions shape public understanding, and public understanding influences behavior. The cycle reinforces itself. By late evening, television screens illuminate living rooms across the nation. Families laugh at comedies, watch dramas, follow news broadcasts, discuss current events. The experience feels comforting, predictable, familiar. Yet hidden within that familiarity are countless messages about how society should function. Who belongs? Who leads? Who follows? What is acceptable? What is not? Many of these assumptions will face intense scrutiny in future decades. Some will be rejected entirely. Others will evolve gradually. But during the 1950s, most remain firmly embedded in everyday life. That is one of history's most fascinating lessons. People rarely recognize the assumptions of their own era. They simply live inside them. Only later does a new generation step back and ask questions. Why was this considered normal? Why did nobody object? Why did it take so long to change? Those questions become especially powerful when examining another ordinary feature of 1950s life: how governments, schools, and communities prepared entire populations for the possibility of nuclear catastrophe, transforming an unimaginable threat into a routine part of daily existence. Those questions become especially powerful when examining another ordinary feature of 1950s life: how governments, schools, and communities prepared entire populations for the possibility of nuclear catastrophe, transforming an unimaginable threat into a routine part of daily existence. The morning begins like any other. Children eat breakfast. Parents leave for work. School buses arrive. Store owners unlock doors. The routines appear ordinary. Yet beneath these familiar activities exists a reality unlike anything previous generations had experienced. For the first time in human history, entire cities could potentially disappear within minutes. The atomic bomb had already demonstrated its destructive power during World War II. Now, during the Cold War, many people feared that future weapons could be even more devastating. And somehow, society attempted to make this possibility feel normal. At school, students gather in classrooms. The lesson pauses. An announcement arrives. A drill is about to begin. Children are instructed to move beneath desks. They kneel, cover their heads, wait quietly. These exercises become known as duck and cover drills. Millions of children participate. Teachers guide students through the motions repeatedly. The purpose is preparedness. The goal is reassurance. Officials want citizens to feel that practical steps exist in the face of nuclear danger. Yet viewed from the modern perspective, the scene feels almost surreal. Young students are practicing responses to one of the most destructive forces ever created. Many do not fully understand the threat. Others understand enough to feel frightened. Still, the drills continue because routine creates comfort. When something is practiced regularly, it begins to feel manageable, even if the danger itself remains overwhelming. Outside the classroom, communities conduct civil defense exercises. Warning sirens are tested. Emergency plans are developed. Public officials distribute informational materials. Families discuss survival strategies. Government agencies encourage preparedness. Throughout the country, ordinary citizens are asked to imagine extraordinary scenarios. What would happen if a nuclear attack occurred? Where would people go? How would they protect themselves? What supplies should they keep? These questions become part of everyday life. The remarkable thing is how calmly many people adapt. Humans possess an incredible ability to normalize uncertainty. A threat that might seem unbearable gradually becomes part of the background. People continue working, shopping, dating, raising children, planning vacations. Life moves forward despite the shadow hanging overhead. In some neighborhoods, families construct fallout shelters. Backyards become construction sites. Concrete rooms are built. Supplies are stored. Water containers line shelves. Food reserves accumulate. The shelters symbolize both fear and optimism. Fear that catastrophe may come. Optimism that preparation might help people survive. Magazines publish shelter designs. Companies advertise survival products. Preparedness becomes its own small industry. Children sometimes view the shelters as fascinating, almost adventurous. Adults understand the darker reality. The structures exist because many people genuinely believe nuclear war is possible. Not someday. Potentially, at any time. Imagine carrying that awareness through daily life. Imagine knowing that global events occurring thousands of miles away could suddenly affect your neighborhood. For countless Americans and Britons, this is not a theoretical concern. It is part of the world they inhabit. Television and radio reinforce these fears. News reports discuss international tensions. Military developments receive extensive coverage. Political speeches emphasize national security. Every major crisis attracts public attention. People follow events closely. Many develop strong opinions. Others simply hope leaders can prevent disaster. The anxiety is widespread but often controlled. Society cannot function in a constant state of panic. Therefore, people learn to compartmentalize. They acknowledge the threat, then continue living. This balancing act becomes one of the defining psychological experiences of the decade. The contrast is striking. A family may spend Saturday afternoon enjoying a picnic. Children play baseball. Parents laugh and relax. Then later that evening, they hear a news report discussing nuclear weapons. Both realities coexist. Normal life and existential fear occupy the same space. The same pattern appears in schools. A child studies mathematics, reads literature, participates in sports, then practices for possible atomic attack. The extraordinary becomes ordinary through repetition. What might shock future generations feels routine to those living through it. Government officials genuinely believe preparedness matters. Many experts support civil defense programs. The intention is not to frighten citizens unnecessarily. The intention is to provide structure during uncertain times. Yet critics later question whether some measures offered more psychological comfort than practical protection. The debate continues long after the decade ends. What remains undeniable is the emotional impact. Millions grow up with nuclear war as a realistic possibility. That awareness influences how they view the world, how they view politics, how they view the future. As afternoon passes, workers discuss international events during lunch breaks. Newspaper headlines travel from office to office. Radio broadcasts provide updates. The Cold War is not merely a political conflict between governments. It becomes part of daily conversation, part of community life, part of personal identity. Children hear adults discussing communism, national security, foreign policy, military strength. Even those who pay little attention cannot completely escape the atmosphere. The tension is woven into the culture. By evening, families gather around televisions once again. News anchors speak with seriousness and authority. Viewers trust these voices. Trust remains a defining characteristic of the era. Trust in institutions. Trust in experts. Trust in government. Not universal trust, certainly, but often stronger than many modern observers might expect. That trust helps explain why civil defense programs receive broad participation. People generally believe authorities are acting in the public interest. Whether the plans would ultimately succeed is another question. The important fact is that millions accept them as reasonable. As darkness settles over towns and cities, warning sirens occasionally echo during tests. For a brief moment, people pause, listen, then return to their routines. The sound becomes familiar, part of the landscape, part of life. History is full of strange contradictions. Few are stranger than a decade that celebrated prosperity, technological progress, and suburban comfort while simultaneously preparing children for the possibility of nuclear annihilation. The disturbing reality is not simply that the threat existed. It is that society learned to live beside it, to treat it as normal, to make room for it within ordinary life. And while nuclear fears occupied headlines, many other dangers remained largely unnoticed, especially those involving the environment itself, where pollution, chemicals, and industrial waste were often accepted as unavoidable signs of modern progress. And while nuclear fears occupied headlines, many other dangers remained largely unnoticed, especially those involving the environment itself, where pollution, chemicals, and industrial waste were often accepted as unavoidable signs of modern progress. The sun rises over an industrial city. Factory smokestacks stretch into the morning sky. Trains carry raw materials across the landscape. Power stations generate electricity for growing suburbs. Automobiles fill newly expanded roads. To many people in the 1950s, this scene represents success, economic growth, national strength, modern living. The nation is producing more goods than ever before. Homes contain new appliances. Businesses are expanding. Communities are growing. Few people want to slow this momentum. Yet the very symbols of prosperity often create environmental conditions that would alarm modern observers. Look upward. The sky above many industrial regions is not always blue. Smoke drifts from factories. Coal-fired power plants release soot into the atmosphere. Industrial emissions darken horizons. Residents sometimes wake to layers of grime settling on windowsills and automobiles. Clothes hanging outside may collect dirt from the air. The pollution is visible. People notice it. But many accept it as the price of progress. Factory smoke means jobs. Jobs mean income. Income means opportunity. The connection seems straightforward. Questioning pollution can appear almost like questioning prosperity itself. In some cities, thick smog becomes a regular occurrence. Visibility decreases. Air quality worsens. Respiratory problems affect many residents. Yet public awareness of long-term environmental health risks remains limited compared to later decades. The language of environmental protection has not yet entered mainstream discussion. Most people focus on immediate concerns: work, family, housing. The future consequences of pollution feel distant and abstract. A factory owner sees production. A worker sees wages. A community sees economic stability. The environmental costs remain largely hidden. Rivers tell a similar story. Across parts of America and Britain, industrial waste frequently enters waterways. Factories discharge byproducts. Cities release untreated or partially treated waste. Streams and rivers absorb pollution that would trigger major regulatory action today. In many places, residents simply accept contaminated waterways as part of urban life. Children may still play nearby. Families may fish nearby. Communities adapt to conditions that modern environmental agencies would find alarming. Again, the key detail is normality. People are not necessarily unaware that pollution exists. They simply view it differently. The dangers are not yet fully understood, or they are considered less important than economic growth. The priorities of the era shape public attitudes. Meanwhile, chemical products continue spreading throughout everyday life. Agriculture changes rapidly after World War II. Farmers adopt new technologies, new fertilizers, new pesticides, new methods designed to increase productivity. The results can be impressive. Crop yields improve. Food production expands. Scientific innovation appears to be solving long-standing agricultural challenges. One chemical in particular becomes a symbol of modern confidence: DDT. Farmers use it. Government agencies use it. Homeowners use it. Communities spray it. The substance gains a reputation as a powerful weapon against insects. Photographs from the era sometimes show people standing in visible clouds of pesticide spray without concern. Children run nearby. Workers handle the chemical with limited protective equipment. The confidence is remarkable. Most people see benefits. Mosquitoes decrease. Agricultural pests decrease. The long-term environmental consequences remain largely unknown to the public. Future decades will dramatically alter perceptions of such chemicals. But during the 1950s, many citizens view them as evidence of scientific progress. The pattern appears again. A new technology solves a problem. People embrace it enthusiastically. Only later do hidden costs become visible. Suburban expansion creates another environmental transformation. Across America, especially, vast developments appear outside cities. New homes stretch across former farmland and open spaces. Road networks expand. Shopping centers emerge. The automobile becomes increasingly central to daily life. For many families, suburban living feels like a dream fulfilled. More space, more privacy, modern conveniences, safe neighborhoods. The benefits are real. Yet this growth also encourages greater dependence on automobiles. Fuel consumption rises. Road construction accelerates. Land use changes dramatically. Few people pause to consider the environmental implications. The future seems focused on growth, not conservation. As afternoon arrives, children play in neighborhoods shaped by these new realities. Many enjoy cleaner, more comfortable housing than previous generations. Yet they also grow up surrounded by chemicals, pollution, and materials whose risks remain poorly understood. The contradiction is everywhere. Improved living standards coexist with hidden dangers. Progress and risk travel together. Inside homes, air quality presents another challenge. Cigarette smoke fills living rooms. Coal or oil heating systems operate during colder months. Ventilation standards differ from modern expectations. Families rarely discuss indoor air pollution because the concept itself receives little attention. People think about weather. They think about comfort. They rarely think about microscopic particles suspended in the air. Scientific understanding continues developing. Public awareness lags behind. The gap between what experts know and what ordinary citizens understand often remains significant. By evening, industrial lights illuminate factories preparing for another night of production. The economy continues moving. The nation continues growing. Most people see reasons for optimism. And indeed, there are many. Medical advances save lives. Technology improves convenience. Economic opportunities expand. Yet history teaches an important lesson. Progress is rarely free. Every innovation creates new questions. Every solution may introduce new problems. The challenge is that those problems often remain invisible at first. The people living through the 1950s cannot see future environmental studies. They cannot read future scientific reports. They cannot know which chemicals will later be restricted, which pollutants will later be regulated, which practices will later be condemned. They simply trust the knowledge available at the time. The unsettling part is how familiar that pattern feels. Every generation believes it understands the world reasonably well. Every generation eventually discovers blind spots. As darkness spreads across cities and suburbs, countless families settle into comfortable homes built during an age of extraordinary confidence. A confidence in science. A confidence in industry. A confidence in progress. Much of that confidence is justified. Some of it is not. And nowhere does that tension become more visible than in the treatment of social outsiders, people whose appearance, beliefs, identities, or lifestyles did not fit neatly into the expectations of 1950s society. And nowhere does that tension become more visible than in the treatment of social outsiders, people whose appearance, beliefs, identities, or lifestyles did not fit neatly into the expectations of 1950s society. The morning newspaper lands on a front porch. A family retrieves it before breakfast. The headlines discuss politics, international affairs, sports, and local events. At first glance, the world described in its pages appears orderly, predictable, comfortable. Yet beneath that appearance lies a powerful expectation that people should fit within clearly defined social boundaries. For many individuals, this expectation feels natural. For others, it feels suffocating. The 1950s are often remembered as an era of conformity. The word appears repeatedly in historical discussions of the decade because it captures something important about daily life. People are encouraged to look similar, dress similarly, think similarly, live similarly. The pressure is not always enforced by law. Often it comes from neighbors, co-workers, schools, religious institutions, community organizations, families. The expectation exists almost everywhere. A person who follows accepted social norms may rarely notice it. A person who does not fit easily into those norms often notices it every day. Imagine living in a neighborhood where nearly every family follows a similar pattern. A father works outside the home. A mother manages household responsibilities. Children attend local schools. Everyone attends familiar community events. The arrangement creates stability. Many people genuinely enjoy it. Yet, anyone whose life does not match this model may encounter scrutiny. Questions arise. Rumors spread. People wonder why someone is different. The pressure to conform can become remarkably powerful. Throughout the decade, countless individuals learn to hide aspects of themselves simply to avoid criticism. Some conceal personal beliefs. Others conceal ambitions. Others conceal identities entirely. The fear of social judgment shapes decisions large and small. Where to live, what to wear, what career to pursue, what opinions to express publicly. In many communities, standing apart carries real consequences. This atmosphere affects young people especially strongly. Teenagers often face intense pressure to fit in. Fashion becomes important. Popularity becomes important. Social acceptance becomes important. The desire to avoid embarrassment influences countless choices. Many young people spend enormous energy trying to appear normal according to the standards of their time. What qualifies as normal, however, is often narrowly defined. Those definitions leave little room for difference. The same pressure extends into the workplace. Employers frequently expect workers to project certain images. Appearance matters. Behavior matters. Personal reputation matters. An employee viewed as unconventional may face challenges unrelated to job performance. Professional success often depends not only on competence, but also on social acceptance. The boundaries between personal and professional life remain closely connected. A person's reputation follows them. Community expectations follow them. Opportunities may depend upon them. Meanwhile, political tensions intensify these pressures. The Cold War encourages suspicion in many areas of public life. People become increasingly sensitive to perceived threats. Loyalty matters. Patriotism matters. Conformity sometimes becomes associated with safety. Difference sometimes becomes associated with risk. This mindset influences public attitudes in subtle but significant ways. Certain opinions become difficult to express openly. Certain questions become difficult to ask. People often avoid controversy simply to protect themselves from unwanted attention. History remembers some of these years through the lens of investigations, accusations, and political fear. Careers can be damaged. Reputations can be destroyed. Not always because someone committed wrongdoing. Sometimes because suspicion alone proves enough. For ordinary citizens, the lesson is clear. Blend in. Avoid standing out. Avoid attracting attention. The safest path is often the most conventional one. At schools, children absorb these messages from an early age. Classroom expectations emphasize discipline and order. Social expectations emphasize fitting in. Students quickly learn which behaviors receive approval. They also learn which behaviors invite criticism. The process is rarely formal. No one hands out a rulebook explaining every expectation. Instead, children observe reactions. Praise, disapproval, acceptance, exclusion. Over time, they internalize the lessons. Some thrive within the system. Others struggle quietly. The experience can be particularly difficult for individuals whose identities or personal circumstances place them outside mainstream expectations. Many face isolation. Many face misunderstanding. Some spend years hiding important parts of themselves. Modern discussions about inclusion, diversity, and personal identity are still far in the future. The vocabulary does not yet exist in the way people understand it today. As a result, many experiences remain invisible. People suffer in silence because society lacks frameworks for understanding them. Silence itself becomes a form of social control. What is not discussed cannot easily be challenged. The same pattern appears in entertainment. Television programs often present highly standardized versions of family life. Movies frequently reinforce familiar social roles. Advertisements celebrate idealized lifestyles. The messages are consistent. Success looks a certain way. Families look a certain way. Communities look a certain way. The repetition strengthens public expectations. People begin measuring themselves against images that may not reflect reality. The pressure affects adults as well as children. Many individuals feel obligated to maintain appearances regardless of private struggles. A family experiencing difficulties may hide them. A person feeling isolated may hide it. Someone facing discrimination may remain silent. The culture often rewards the appearance of stability, not necessarily the reality of it. As evening settles across neighborhoods, porch lights illuminate carefully maintained homes. Everything appears calm from the outside. That appearance matters greatly in the 1950s. Respectability carries enormous value. Communities often judge people based on what can be seen. A tidy lawn, proper clothing, appropriate behavior, visible conformity. The system creates comfort for some and pressure for others. Both realities exist simultaneously. That duality runs throughout the decade. The 1950s can be warm and welcoming. They can also be restrictive and unforgiving. The same society that provides stability may also punish difference. The same traditions that create belonging may also create exclusion. History rarely offers simple portraits. Instead, it presents complicated human realities. And as the night grows deeper, another troubling aspect of the decade comes into view. One involving consumer trust, corporate influence, and products sold to millions of families despite dangers that were sometimes ignored, minimized, or not fully understood. And as the night grows deeper, another troubling aspect of the decade comes into view. One involving consumer trust, corporate influence, and products sold to millions of families despite dangers that were sometimes ignored, minimized, or not fully understood. The lights remain on in a quiet living room. A family watches television before bed. Commercials interrupt the program every few minutes. Smiling faces appear on screen. Confident voices make promises. Products claim to improve health, happiness, convenience, beauty, and success. For many viewers in the 1950s, these messages feel trustworthy. Major corporations enjoy a level of public confidence that is difficult to overstate. People generally believe that companies selling products nationwide must know what they are doing. If an item reaches store shelves, most consumers assume it has been properly evaluated. That assumption helps fuel one of the most remarkable consumer booms in modern history. New products seem to appear constantly. New appliances, new foods, new medicines, new household materials. The future arrives in brightly colored packaging. Consumers embrace it enthusiastically. And yet, beneath this optimism lies a recurring problem. Scientific knowledge often develops more slowly than commercial success. A product may become popular long before its long-term risks are fully understood. Sometimes companies genuinely do not know those risks. Sometimes evidence exists but remains disputed. Sometimes economic incentives encourage people to emphasize benefits while downplaying concerns. The results can affect millions. Consider tobacco. By the 1950s, smoking is deeply embedded in everyday life. Research linking cigarettes to serious health problems is growing. Some scientists are raising alarms. Certain studies are attracting attention. Yet, tobacco advertising continues aggressively. Television commercials run. Magazine advertisements appear. Billboards promote popular brands. Many smokers receive conflicting messages. One source suggests caution. Another source suggests reassurance. The average consumer struggles to evaluate competing claims. Most people are not medical researchers. They rely on trusted institutions, trusted companies, trusted authorities. When those sources disagree, uncertainty flourishes. The same pattern appears in other industries. Manufacturers promote products containing materials that later become controversial. Asbestos, lead-based paints, various chemicals used in household and industrial settings. At the time, many companies focus on the advantages: durability, efficiency, affordability, convenience. Those benefits are real. The risks often receive less attention, partly because knowledge remains incomplete, partly because acknowledging risks can threaten profits. History repeatedly demonstrates how difficult it can be to balance commercial interests with public health. The challenge is rarely simple. Businesses create jobs. They produce useful goods. They drive innovation. At the same time, they sometimes resist information that could limit sales. The tension exists throughout modern history. The 1950s provide many examples. Meanwhile, consumers continue filling their homes with new products. A modern refrigerator, a television set, synthetic materials, cleaning agents, beauty products, processed foods. Each promises improvement. Each reflects confidence in scientific progress. Few people pause to ask whether every ingredient has been studied thoroughly. Such expectations are not yet common. Public trust remains strong. Advertising helps reinforce that trust. Open a magazine from the era and examine the language carefully. Many advertisements speak with extraordinary certainty. Products do not merely help. They transform. They improve. They solve problems. The claims can appear remarkably bold to modern readers. Regulatory standards governing advertising continue evolving. What companies can say about products often differs from what would be permitted decades later. Consumers encounter persuasive messages everywhere they turn. Television, radio, newspapers, billboards, store displays. The influence becomes impossible to avoid. Children absorb these messages as well. Toy advertisements target young audiences. Food advertisements target families. Consumer culture begins shaping expectations from an early age. Children learn to recognize brands, to desire products, to associate consumption with happiness. The process feels natural because it surrounds them constantly. Advertising does not merely reflect culture. It helps create it. As corporate influence expands, another reality becomes visible. Large institutions possess enormous power over public understanding. Research findings can take years to reach ordinary citizens. Scientific debates may remain largely invisible. Consumers often receive simplified conclusions rather than complex evidence. The information gap can be significant. A company knows more about a product than its customers. A manufacturer knows more about ingredients than the average shopper. Trust bridges that gap. Sometimes appropriately, sometimes not. The consequences vary. Throughout the decade, many families genuinely believe they are making the best possible choices. They purchase recommended products, follow expert advice, trust established brands. No one intentionally seeks danger. No one knowingly invites harm into the home. The disturbing reality is that good intentions do not always guarantee good outcomes. A parent buys a product believing it is safe. Years later, new evidence emerges. A worker uses a material believed to be harmless. Decades later, illnesses appear. A smoker trusts advertisements, suggesting reassurance. Future medical research tells a different story. Again and again, the pattern repeats. Knowledge changes. Understanding evolves. Yesterday's certainty becomes today's cautionary tale. By late evening, television programming comes to an end. Screens fade to darkness. Families prepare for sleep. The products surrounding them seem familiar and dependable. A medicine cabinet stocked with trusted remedies. A house built with trusted materials. A kitchen filled with trusted foods. The comfort feels real. Yet history reminds us that trust alone cannot guarantee safety. Even the most respected institutions can be mistaken. Even the most successful products can carry hidden costs. Even the most confident experts can lack crucial information. That lesson becomes even more unsettling when examining one of the most vulnerable groups in society, the elderly, whose experiences during the 1950s often reveal another side of the decade that nostalgic memories frequently overlook. The 1950s provide many examples. Meanwhile, consumers continue filling their homes with new products. A modern refrigerator, a television set, synthetic materials, cleaning agents, beauty products, processed foods. Each promises improvement. Each reflects confidence in scientific progress. Few people pause to ask whether every ingredient has been studied thoroughly. Such expectations are not yet common. Public trust remains strong. Advertising helps reinforce that trust. Open a magazine from the era and examine the language carefully. Many advertisements speak with extraordinary certainty. Products do not merely help. They transform. They improve. They solve problems. The claims can appear remarkably bold to modern readers. Regulatory standards governing advertising continue evolving. What companies can say about products often differs from what would be permitted decades later. Consumers encounter persuasive messages everywhere they turn. Television, radio, newspapers, billboards, store displays. The influence becomes impossible to avoid. Children absorb these messages as well. Toy advertisements target young audiences. Food advertisements target families. Consumer culture begins shaping expectations from an early age. Children learn to recognize brands, to desire products, to associate consumption with happiness. The process feels natural because it surrounds them constantly. Advertising does not merely reflect culture. It helps create it. As corporate influence expands, another reality becomes visible. Large institutions possess enormous power over public understanding. Research findings can take years to reach ordinary citizens. Scientific debates may remain largely invisible. Consumers often receive simplified conclusions rather than complex evidence. The information gap can be significant. A company knows more about a product than its customers. A manufacturer knows more about ingredients than the average shopper. Trust bridges that gap. Sometimes appropriately, sometimes not. The consequences vary. Throughout the decade, many families genuinely believe they are making the best possible choices. They purchase recommended products, follow expert advice, trust established brands. No one intentionally seeks danger. No one knowingly invites harm into the home. The disturbing reality is that good intentions do not always guarantee good outcomes. A parent buys a product believing it is safe. Years later, new evidence emerges. A worker uses a material believed to be harmless. Decades later, illnesses appear. A smoker trusts advertisements suggesting reassurance. Future medical research tells a different story. Again and again, the pattern repeats. Knowledge changes. Understanding evolves. Yesterday's certainty becomes today's cautionary tale. By late evening, television programming comes to an end. Screens fade to darkness. Families prepare for sleep. The products surrounding them seem familiar and dependable. A medicine cabinet stocked with trusted remedies. A house built with trusted materials. A kitchen filled with trusted foods. The comfort feels real. Yet history reminds us that trust alone cannot guarantee safety. Even the most respected institutions can be mistaken. Even the most successful products can carry hidden costs. Even the most confident experts can lack crucial information. That lesson becomes even more unsettling when examining one of the most vulnerable groups in society, the elderly, whose experiences during the 1950s often reveal another side of the decade that nostalgic memories frequently overlook. While much of society celebrates stability, important shifts are already beginning beneath the surface. Civil rights movements gain momentum. Scientific discoveries challenge old assumptions. Cultural attitudes slowly evolve. Many of the practices considered normal during the decade will not remain normal forever. Older generations often observe these changes with mixed emotions. Some welcome them, some resist them. Most experience a combination of both. Human beings naturally compare the present to the past. The comparison is rarely simple. As evening approaches, another reality becomes apparent. Many elderly individuals continue working longer than modern observers might expect. Retirement systems are expanding, but financial necessity often keeps people in the workforce. Physical labor can become increasingly difficult with age. Health problems may complicate employment, yet options remain limited for some families. The image of comfortable retirement is not universally attainable. Again, the decade contains contradictions: prosperity and hardship, opportunity and limitation, comfort and vulnerability, all exist side by side. The nostalgic image of the 1950s often focuses on young families building bright futures. That image contains truth, but it does not tell the entire story. Millions of older adults experience the decade differently. Their lives reveal challenges that cheerful advertisements rarely acknowledge. Their experiences remind us that history is never uniform. The same decade can feel hopeful to one person and difficult to another. By nightfall, quiet houses glow beneath porch lights. Families gather inside. Children complete homework. Parents discuss work. Grandparents sit nearby, carrying memories that stretch back far beyond the decade itself. Those memories contain lessons. Lessons about how quickly society changes, how confidently people embrace new ideas, how easily risks become normalized, and perhaps most importantly, how often the most disturbing realities are not hidden secrets at all. They are simply everyday practices that everyone has stopped noticing. That pattern becomes impossible to ignore when we turn our attention to one of the most trusted institutions of all, the medical and scientific establishment, where confidence in progress sometimes moved faster than certainty about its consequences. That pattern becomes impossible to ignore when we turn our attention to one of the most trusted institutions of all, the medical and scientific establishment, where confidence in progress sometimes moved faster than certainty about its consequences. Another day begins. A doctor unlocks the door to a small medical office. Patients soon fill the waiting room. Parents bring children for examinations. Workers seek treatment for injuries. Older adults arrive carrying concerns about aches, pains, and illnesses. Throughout the 1950s, medicine enjoys enormous public respect. And for good reason. The first half of the 20th century witnessed remarkable advances. Antibiotics transformed healthcare. Vaccination programs reduced devastating diseases. Surgical techniques improved. Life expectancy increased. Scientific achievement seemed almost limitless. For many citizens, the future of medicine appeared bright beyond imagination. Yet confidence can sometimes create its own risks. The success of modern science encourages people to trust new technologies quickly. New treatments, new procedures, new products, new discoveries. If experts recommend them, many patients accept them without hesitation. Questioning medical authority remains relatively uncommon. Doctors are viewed not simply as professionals, but as highly trusted figures whose expertise deserves deference. In many situations, that trust is entirely justified. But history shows that even respected experts can be wrong. Scientific understanding is never complete. It evolves continuously. The 1950s offer many examples of this reality. Consider radiation. Throughout the early and mid-20th century, radiation technologies inspire fascination. X-rays represent modern science at work. Hospitals use them. Clinics use them. Even certain retail stores use them. Many consumers view radiation as something innovative and beneficial. The risks associated with repeated exposure are not always fully appreciated. A family purchasing shoes may encounter fluoroscope machines that allow customers to view images of their feet inside shoes. The device seems futuristic. Children often find it exciting. Parents find it useful. Store employees encourage its use. Yet later decades will look back with astonishment that such equipment once appeared routinely in retail environments. The excitement surrounding new technology often overshadows caution. Another example appears in pharmaceutical development. Medical companies continue creating new drugs. Many improve lives dramatically. Patients benefit from treatments that previous generations never possessed. However, testing standards continue evolving. Long-term effects are not always fully understood before products reach widespread use. A medication may appear safe initially. Years later, researchers discover complications that were not obvious during early use. The challenge is not unique to the 1950s. It exists throughout medical history. Knowledge develops gradually. Certainty often arrives later than confidence. Patients living through the decade cannot know which treatments will stand the test of time and which will later be reconsidered. They rely on the best information available. Nothing more, nothing less. Meanwhile, hospitals themselves continue changing. Many practices reflect assumptions that later generations will question. Communication between doctors and patients often differs from modern expectations. Physicians may provide limited explanations regarding diagnoses or treatment options. The prevailing belief is that doctors know best. Patients frequently accept recommendations without extensive discussion. Informed consent exists, but not always informs modern medical ethics would recognize. The relationship tends to be more paternalistic. Authority flows primarily in one direction, from doctor to patient. Many people prefer this arrangement. Others simply have no alternative. The culture of shared decision-making has not yet fully emerged. Mental health care reveals another area where scientific confidence and limited understanding sometimes coexist. Psychiatric institutions remain common. Certain treatments considered acceptable during the era later become controversial. Doctors genuinely seek solutions for difficult conditions. Families desperately want help for loved ones. The intentions are often sincere. The results vary dramatically. Modern readers sometimes focus only on the failures. Yet many practitioners are working with limited tools and incomplete knowledge. That complexity matters. History becomes easier to understand when viewed through the information available at the time rather than through hindsight alone. Still, some realities remain unsettling. Large institutions can isolate patients from society. Mental health struggles frequently carry stigma. Public understanding remains limited. Countless individuals endure challenges that few people discuss openly. The silence surrounding these issues can be as damaging as the conditions themselves. At universities and research centers, scientific optimism flourishes. Researchers pursue breakthroughs in medicine, chemistry, engineering, and countless other fields. The post-war period generates tremendous confidence in human ingenuity. Many believe science can solve nearly every major problem facing society. Disease, poverty, food shortages, technological limitations. The future appears manageable through innovation. This optimism helps drive extraordinary achievements. It also occasionally encourages overconfidence. When people believe progress is inevitable, they may pay less attention to potential risks. The pattern appears repeatedly throughout the decade. Chemicals are adopted before long-term effects are known. Materials are used before health consequences are understood. Technologies spread before safety standards fully mature. The goal is improvement. The unintended consequences emerge later. By afternoon, laboratories continue their work. Doctors continue seeing patients. Researchers continue pursuing discoveries. The momentum of scientific advancement feels unstoppable. And in many ways, it is. The benefits are real. Diseases are treated. Lives are saved. Comfort increases. Knowledge expands. History should never ignore these achievements. Yet history should also remember that progress often arrives accompanied by uncertainty. The public tends to notice the benefits immediately. The risks sometimes take decades to become visible. That delay can be dangerous. A society may embrace a practice wholeheartedly before understanding its full impact. By evening, hospital lights glow against the darkening sky. Patients recover in wards. Families wait in visiting rooms. Doctors finish long shifts. Everyone involved believes they are participating in a better future. Most of the time they are. But the future is never as predictable as people imagine. The disturbing lesson of the 1950s is not that science failed. Far from it. The lesson is that scientific confidence and scientific certainty are not the same thing. And nowhere does that distinction become more visible than in the ways popular culture, entertainment, and public opinion shaped everyday assumptions about what was acceptable, respectable, and completely normal. And nowhere does that distinction become more visible than in the ways popular culture, entertainment, and public opinion shaped everyday assumptions about what was acceptable, respectable, and completely normal. The evening begins with a familiar ritual. Dinner dishes are cleared from the table. Children finish homework. Parents settle into comfortable chairs. A television flickers to life. Across America and Britain, millions of people watch many of the same programs at roughly the same time. The experience creates a powerful sense of shared culture. Families laugh at the same jokes, discuss the same characters, follow the same news stories. Entertainment becomes more than amusement. It becomes a guidebook for social expectations. Television is still relatively young, but its influence is enormous. The families shown on screen often appear remarkably similar. The fathers are dependable providers. The mothers manage the household. The children encounter problems that are usually solved neatly within half an hour. Homes are tidy. Neighborhoods are friendly. Conflicts are manageable. The message is subtle but powerful. This is what normal life looks like. For viewers whose lives resemble these portrayals, the programs feel familiar and reassuring. For those whose experiences differ, the gap can feel significant. The television rarely shows every reality. It selects certain realities. And what remains unseen can be just as important as what appears on screen. Hollywood films reinforce many of the same ideas. Movie theaters remain popular gathering places throughout the decade. Audiences flock to dramas, comedies, westerns, musicals, and adventure films. The stars become cultural icons. Their clothing influences fashion. Their behavior influences social trends. Their public images shape ideas about beauty, success, and respectability. The influence extends far beyond the theater itself. Young people imitate hairstyles. Adults copy fashions. Advertisers borrow themes from popular films. Entertainment and consumer culture become increasingly connected. Yet the images presented are often carefully controlled. Studios manage public reputations closely. Scandals are hidden when possible. Idealized versions of celebrity life are promoted. The public sees polished stories rather than complete realities. Again, appearance matters. The 1950s place enormous value on appearances. A family should appear successful. A community should appear stable. A celebrity should appear respectable. The pressure to maintain these images can be intense. Radio remains influential as well. Though television is expanding rapidly, millions still listen to radio programs daily. Music fills homes and automobiles. News broadcasts reach broad audiences. Popular personalities become trusted voices. The information environment remains concentrated. A relatively small number of media organizations help shape public understanding. This concentration creates cultural unity. It also limits the range of perspectives many people encounter. Alternative viewpoints may struggle to gain attention. Dominant narratives become powerful simply because they are repeated so often. For young people, music becomes one of the most visible areas where cultural change begins emerging. The rise of rock and roll introduces new energy into popular culture. Teenagers embrace the music enthusiastically. Many parents feel uncertain. Some religious leaders express concern. Certain public figures criticize the genre. The reaction reveals something important about the decade. Even within a culture known for conformity, change is already underway. Every generation creates tensions between tradition and innovation. The 1950s are no exception. Young people increasingly develop identities separate from their parents. Teen culture becomes more visible. Fashion changes. Music changes. Social habits change. Some adults view these developments as exciting. Others view them as threatening. The debates feel surprisingly familiar. Every era worries about the younger generation. Every era wonders whether cultural change is happening too quickly. As the decade progresses, these concerns grow more noticeable. Meanwhile, entertainment often reflects assumptions about race, gender, and social status that modern audiences find troubling. Certain stereotypes appear routinely in films and television programs. Characters from different backgrounds may receive limited or distorted representation. Many viewers barely notice because such portrayals are common. What society sees repeatedly often feels normal. That is one of the most powerful lessons of media history. Normality is frequently created through repetition. The more often people encounter an idea, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the less likely they are to question it. Advertisements understand this principle perfectly. So do politicians. So do media companies. By late evening, families continue consuming messages that influence how they understand the world. How men should behave, how women should behave, how families should function, what success should look like, who belongs, who does not. Most viewers never consciously analyze these messages. They simply absorb them over time. The process is gradual, almost invisible, yet its effects can be profound. A child watching television every day learns social expectations without realizing it. An adult reading magazines encounters similar influences. The culture teaches itself continuously. That teaching shapes attitudes toward everything from careers to relationships to politics. The disturbing aspect is not necessarily that these messages exist. Every society communicates values. The unsettling part is how easily people mistake cultural assumptions for objective truth. What feels natural often reflects historical circumstances rather than universal reality. The 1950s demonstrate this clearly. Many ideas considered unquestionable during the decade will later be challenged. Some will disappear entirely. Others will evolve. Future generations will look back and wonder how certain beliefs remained so widely accepted. The answer is often simple. Because they were everywhere. In movies, in advertisements, in schools, in neighborhoods, in conversations, in daily life. People rarely question assumptions that surround them constantly. As midnight approaches, television stations begin ending their broadcasts. Screens fade to static. Living rooms grow quiet. Families head to bed. Outside, neighborhoods settle into silence. Yet beneath the calm surface, social changes are already gathering momentum. Movements for equality, challenges to traditional authority, questions about accepted norms. The future is approaching, even if most people cannot yet see it. And some of the most disturbing examples of what was considered normal in the 1950s emerge when those changes begin colliding with long-established systems of power, privilege, and discrimination that many citizens had accepted for generations. And some of the most disturbing examples of what was considered normal in the 1950s emerge when those changes began colliding with long-established systems of power, privilege, and discrimination that many citizens had accepted for generations. The morning air is cool. Children walk toward school. Workers head toward factories and offices. Store owners unlock their doors. To an outside observer, everything appears orderly, routine, predictable. Yet beneath this ordinary surface, important struggles are unfolding across the United States and other parts of the English-speaking world. Many of these struggles concern rights that modern people often take for granted, rights that millions of individuals in the 1950s are still fighting to obtain. One of the most significant involves racial segregation in America. For countless Black Americans, discrimination is not an occasional inconvenience. It is part of everyday life. Laws, customs, and institutions often combine to limit opportunities. A person may encounter restrictions while seeking education, employment, housing, public accommodations, voting access. The details vary by location, but the broader reality remains clear. A system exists that treats people differently based upon race. What is especially disturbing from a modern perspective is how ordinary this arrangement appears to many citizens at the time. Signs indicating separate facilities are common. Separate schools are common. Separate public spaces are common. Generations grow up surrounded by these realities. Many people accept them simply because they have always existed. That acceptance does not make them fair. It simply demonstrates how powerful social norms can become. The challenge facing reformers is immense. Changing laws is difficult. Changing habits is even harder. Changing deeply rooted assumptions can take generations. Yet change is beginning. Court cases attract national attention. Community leaders organize. Citizens demand equal treatment. Resistance emerges from many directions. Support emerges from many directions as well. History is moving, even if slowly. For those living through the moment, however, progress often feels frustratingly gradual. A child denied equal opportunities cannot wait decades for justice. A family facing discrimination experiences it in the present, not in historical hindsight. That reality gives urgency to struggles that future generations sometimes discuss only in abstract terms. Meanwhile, other forms of exclusion remain widespread. Many communities maintain strong expectations regarding religion, nationality, class, and social background. People who differ from local norms may encounter suspicion. Sometimes the discrimination is explicit. Sometimes it is subtle. A denied opportunity, a closed door, a whispered comment, an assumption made without evidence. The cumulative effect can shape entire lives. Yet because such behavior is common, many people barely notice it. Again, normality becomes the central theme. Practices that would later attract criticism often appear invisible to those living within them. The same pattern extends into housing. Throughout parts of the United States, access to certain neighborhoods may be influenced by race, ethnicity, or other factors. Financial institutions, local customs, and community practices all play roles. The result is that opportunities become distributed unevenly. Families seeking homes may discover barriers that have little to do with income or character. Entire communities can be shaped by policies and assumptions that future generations will challenge vigorously. At schools, students learn lessons about citizenship and democracy. Many of those lessons are sincere. Teachers often believe deeply in the principles they teach. Yet outside the classroom, contradictions remain visible. The gap between national ideals and everyday realities becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. Young people notice. Parents notice. Activists certainly notice. The tension grows throughout the decade. Across the Atlantic, Britain experiences its own social changes. Post-war migration gradually alters the makeup of communities. New arrivals contribute to economic growth and cultural life. At the same time, some encounter prejudice and discrimination. Questions about identity, belonging, and social acceptance become increasingly important. These issues are not identical to those in America, but they reflect similar challenges. Societies often struggle to extend equal treatment to everyone within them. Progress rarely occurs automatically. It requires effort, debate, pressure, and sometimes courage. As afternoon sunlight falls across city streets, many people continue daily routines without thinking deeply about these matters. Work demands attention. Family responsibilities demand attention. Most individuals focus on immediate concerns. History often moves this way. Large social changes unfold while ordinary life continues around them. A person may witness significant transformation without realizing its future importance. The same is true for discrimination itself. Individuals benefiting from a system may scarcely notice its existence. Those harmed by it experience it constantly. Perspective shapes perception. What feels invisible to one person may define another person's entire life. This difference helps explain why certain disturbing practices endure for so long. People do not always experience society in the same way. Consequently, they do not always recognize the same problems. As evening approaches, newspapers report developments in courts, politics, and community organizations. Some readers pay close attention. Others turn immediately to sports scores or entertainment news. The future remains uncertain. No one knows exactly how quickly society will change. No one knows which battles will succeed. No one knows which assumptions will survive. Yet one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The image of the 1950s as a perfectly harmonious decade is incomplete. The reality is more complicated. Beneath the polished advertisements and cheerful television programs are serious conflicts about fairness, opportunity, and human dignity. Those conflicts reveal another truth about history. The most disturbing aspects of an era are often not hidden. They are visible, public, openly accepted. And precisely because they are accepted, many people fail to recognize them as disturbing at all. That same pattern appears in another surprising area of daily life: the treatment of danger itself, where accidents, injuries, and preventable risks were often viewed as ordinary parts of existence rather than problems demanding immediate solutions. That same pattern appears in another surprising area of daily life: the treatment of danger itself, where accidents, injuries, and preventable risks were often viewed as ordinary parts of existence rather than problems demanding immediate solutions. A new morning begins. Automobiles roll out of driveways. School buses travel familiar routes. Factory whistles signal the start of another workday. The country is moving, growing, building. Yet woven into this everyday activity is a relationship with risk that would surprise many modern observers. People in the 1950s do not necessarily seek danger. Most are cautious in the ways they understand. But society as a whole often accepts levels of risk that later generations work hard to reduce. Consider the automobile. By the middle of the decade, cars have become central to American life. Families travel farther than previous generations. Suburbs expand. Road trips become symbols of freedom and prosperity. Automobile advertisements celebrate power, style, and comfort. Shiny chrome gleams beneath showroom lights. Manufacturers compete to offer larger engines and more impressive designs. Safety receives attention, but not the same level of attention. Many vehicles lack features that modern drivers consider essential. Seatbelts are uncommon. Airbags do not exist. Crash testing standards remain limited. Steering columns, dashboards, and interiors can become dangerous during collisions. Children often ride without restraints. Some stand on seats. Some move freely through vehicles. Many parents think nothing of it because everyone behaves similarly. The practice feels normal. The risks remain largely accepted. Accidents occur frequently. Road fatalities claim thousands of lives every year. Yet much of the public views these tragedies as unfortunate realities of modern transportation rather than evidence that vehicle design itself should change dramatically. The safety revolution is still years away. Outside the car, pedestrian safety presents another challenge. Urban planning often prioritizes automobiles over walkers. Busy roads expand. Traffic increases. Crossing certain streets can be hazardous. Children learn through experience. Parents rely heavily on caution and personal responsibility. Protective infrastructure continues developing slowly. Again, the expectation is adaptation rather than prevention. People adjust to danger. Danger is not always adjusted to people. At home, everyday injuries remain common. Power tools lack some modern safeguards. Household appliances continue evolving. Electrical systems improve, but are not always equipped with protections familiar today. Falls, burns, poisonings, and accidents occur regularly. Many families simply accept that such incidents are part of life. Safety campaigns exist, but the culture generally places greater emphasis on personal responsibility than on eliminating hazards entirely. This mindset extends into recreation as well. Children climb tall playground equipment built over concrete or packed dirt. They ride bicycles without helmets. They explore rivers, forests, and construction sites. The freedom can be exhilarating. It can also be dangerous. Yet many adults view risk as an important part of childhood. Learning through experience is valued. Overprotection is often criticized. The balance between freedom and safety differs significantly from modern expectations. Many people remember this freedom fondly. Some also carry scars from it. At workplaces, the acceptance of danger becomes even more pronounced. A factory worker may operate heavy machinery with limited protective barriers. A construction worker may labor at significant heights with minimal fall protection. A miner may enter environments where serious accidents remain possible. These risks are not hidden. Everyone knows they exist. Workers discuss them openly. Families worry about them. Communities understand them. Yet, economic necessity and cultural expectations encourage acceptance. Danger becomes part of the job description. The remarkable thing is how ordinary this acceptance feels. People adapt psychologically. A risk encountered every day eventually becomes familiar. Familiarity reduces fear. Not because the danger disappears, because human beings cannot remain constantly alarmed. Life requires adjustment. That adjustment sometimes hides problems that deserve attention. Even sports reveal changing attitudes towards safety. Athletes compete with equipment that later generations will improve dramatically. Understanding of concussions remains limited. Protective gear continues evolving. Certain injuries are considered unavoidable. Players are often encouraged to endure pain and continue competing. Toughness becomes a celebrated virtue. Seeking help may be interpreted as weakness. These attitudes influence both professional and amateur athletics. The culture rewards resilience, sometimes at significant cost. As afternoon progresses, children return from school. Some play baseball in empty lots. Others ride bicycles through neighborhoods. A few climb trees towering high above the ground. Parents may glance outside occasionally, but constant supervision is uncommon. The expectation is clear. Be careful. Use common sense. Come home before dark. The simplicity of the arrangement feels almost unbelievable from a modern perspective. Yet for millions of families, it is simply how childhood works. Of course, accidents happen. Broken arms, cuts, falls, sprains. Stories of mishaps become part of family memory. Sometimes they are retold humorously for decades afterward. What is rarely discussed is how many of these incidents might have been prevented through later safety innovations. History often reveals dangers only after solutions are invented. Before seatbelts become standard, many people do not view them as necessary. Before helmets become common, many people do not imagine using them. Before childproof packaging appears, many people accept household risks as unavoidable. The future changes expectations. The past operates according to different assumptions. As evening arrives, families gather once again. News reports mention accidents. Communities mourn losses. Life continues. That continuity is important. The people living through the 1950s are not reckless. They are responding to the world as they understand it. The difference is that modern society possesses decades of additional research, experience, and regulation. We know things they do not know. We recognize risks they cannot fully see. And yet, if history teaches anything, it is humility. Future generations may identify dangers in our own lives that seem invisible today. They may wonder why we accepted them, why we delayed action, why obvious risks remained normal for so long. That question echoes throughout every decade. It certainly echoes through the 1950s. A period remembered for confidence, prosperity, and optimism, but also a period when countless hazards were woven so deeply into daily life that most people scarcely noticed them. And some of the most revealing examples are still ahead, hidden within the ordinary routines of family life, where expectations about marriage, parenting, and domestic roles often created pressures that remained largely unquestioned. And some of the most revealing examples are still ahead, hidden within the ordinary routines of family life, where expectations about marriage, parenting, and domestic roles often created pressures that remained largely unquestioned. The house is quiet in the early morning. Coffee brews in the kitchen. A father prepares for work. Children finish breakfast before school. A mother begins planning the day's responsibilities. From the outside, the scene resembles the ideal family image celebrated throughout the 1950s. Magazines praise it. Television reinforces it. Advertisements depend upon it. The traditional nuclear family becomes one of the most recognizable symbols of the decade. For many families, this arrangement genuinely provides happiness, stability, and security. Yet beneath the polished image lies a more complicated reality. Social expectations surrounding marriage and family life are often remarkably rigid. People are encouraged to follow a specific path. Graduate from school, marry, start a family, purchase a home, build a stable household. The sequence appears so normal that many rarely question it. Those who do not follow it may encounter confusion, criticism, or social pressure. Marriage itself occupies a central place in cultural life. Young adults are often expected to marry relatively early. Remaining single for extended periods can attract unwanted attention. Friends ask questions. Relatives offer advice. Communities form assumptions. The pressure is not always hostile. Often it is presented as concern or encouragement. Yet the message remains consistent. Marriage is not merely an option. For many people, it is viewed as the expected destination. Once married, couples face another set of expectations. Gender roles are usually defined clearly. Men are expected to provide financially. Women are expected to manage the household and raise children. Countless families embrace these arrangements willingly. Many find meaning and fulfillment within them. However, not every individual fits comfortably into these roles. A woman with professional ambitions may encounter resistance. A man struggling to fulfill financial expectations may experience intense pressure. Personal desires often compete with social norms. The conflict remains largely invisible because discussing it openly can be difficult. Public images rarely acknowledge dissatisfaction. Advertisements certainly do not. Instead, media portray idealized households where everyone seems content. The reality is often more nuanced. Inside many homes, women carry enormous responsibilities. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, shopping, childcare. Household management. The workload can be relentless. Modern appliances help reduce some burdens, but they do not eliminate them. The image of the cheerful homemaker appears frequently in advertisements. Yet real life is rarely as effortless as promotional materials suggest. Many women experience exhaustion, isolation, or frustration while simultaneously feeling pressure to appear grateful and happy. The expectation itself becomes a source of stress. At the same time, men face pressures of their own. Providing for a family is often treated as a fundamental measure of success. Employment becomes closely tied to identity. Financial struggles can feel deeply personal. A man unable to meet social expectations may experience shame, even when circumstances are beyond his control. The cultural emphasis on strength and reliability leaves limited room for vulnerability. Emotional struggles are often hidden. Stress is endured quietly. The ideal image allows little space for imperfection. Children grow up absorbing these messages. Boys learn what men are supposed to be. Girls learn what women are supposed to be. Schools, television, churches, neighbors, relatives. Everyone contributes to the lesson. Most of the time, the instruction is indirect. Children observe, imitate, adapt. The process feels natural because it surrounds them constantly. The result is a society with highly structured expectations. Structure can provide stability. It can also create limitations. Parenting practices reveal additional differences from modern norms. Discipline tends to be stricter in many households. Physical punishment is more widely accepted. Parents, teachers, and other authority figures often possess broad discretion regarding discipline. Many adults view such methods as necessary for raising responsible children. Few question practices that previous generations used routinely. Again, normality shapes perception. A behavior considered acceptable by nearly everyone rarely attracts scrutiny. Only later do attitudes begin shifting. Communication between parents and children often reflects the broader culture of authority. Adults make decisions. Children obey. Questioning authority may be discouraged. Respect remains highly valued. So does conformity. The arrangement creates order. It may also limit open discussion about personal struggles, fears, or disagreements. Many children learn to keep certain thoughts private, not because their parents are uncaring, because cultural expectations encourage obedience over self-expression. As afternoon sunlight fills suburban neighborhoods, mothers gather at community events. Children play outdoors. Fathers return home from work later in the day. The image appears comforting, and often it is. Many families experience genuine affection and strong bonds. History should not ignore that reality. The 1950s produced countless happy memories. Yet nostalgia can sometimes blur complexity. Behind many front doors are pressures that remain difficult to discuss. Financial concerns, marital tensions, mental health struggles, unfulfilled ambitions, social expectations that leave little room for difference. The contrast between public appearance and private reality becomes a defining feature of the decade. People are encouraged to project stability, even when life feels uncertain. By evening, families gather around dinner tables once again. Conversations revolve around school, work, neighbors, and community events. The rituals create connection. The routines create comfort. But they also reinforce expectations. Every meal, every television program, every advertisement, every social gathering, the same messages appear repeatedly. This is how families should function. This is how men should behave. This is how women should behave. This is how children should behave. The repetition is powerful. So powerful that many individuals never realize alternative possibilities exist. That realization will come later, as social changes accelerate in future decades, as assumptions are challenged, as voices once ignored become impossible to overlook. And those challenges will expose another disturbing reality of the 1950s, the extent to which fear, suspicion, and political anxiety shaped everyday life during one of the most tense periods of the Cold War. And those challenges will expose another disturbing reality of the 1950s, the extent to which fear, suspicion, and political anxiety shaped everyday life during one of the most tense periods of the Cold War. The morning newspaper arrives before sunrise. Its pages are filled with familiar subjects: politics, international affairs, economic developments, sports, local events. Yet woven throughout many headlines is a recurring theme: fear. Not the kind of fear caused by a storm or a dangerous animal. A quieter fear, a political fear, a fear of hidden enemies, secret loyalties, and threats that might be impossible to see. To understand the 1950s, it is impossible to ignore the Cold War. The conflict influences government policy, military planning, education, entertainment, and everyday conversations. Millions of people believe that the future of their nation may depend upon ideological struggles unfolding across the globe. The stakes appear enormous. Democracy, communism, freedom, security. These are not abstract concepts to many citizens. They feel immediate and deeply personal. The anxiety affects daily life in ways that modern observers sometimes underestimate. Imagine sitting at a kitchen table reading reports about espionage investigations. Imagine hearing radio broadcasts discussing international tensions. Imagine watching television programs that repeatedly emphasize national threats. Over time, such messages shape public perception. People become more alert, more suspicious, sometimes more fearful. One of the most famous examples emerges through anti-communist investigations. Government officials, journalists, and public figures debate the possibility of communist influence within American institutions. Questions of loyalty become major public concerns. Investigations receive extensive media coverage. Accusations attract attention. Rumors spread quickly. In some cases, genuine security concerns exist. In others, suspicion grows beyond available evidence. The distinction becomes increasingly difficult for ordinary citizens to evaluate. A person accused of disloyalty may face severe consequences even without formal conviction. Careers can collapse. Reputations can suffer permanent damage. Opportunities can disappear. The fear of being associated with controversial ideas encourages caution. People become careful about what they say, careful about whom they associate with, careful about how their actions might be interpreted. The pressure is often subtle rather than explicit, yet its effects can be profound. Writers feel it, teachers feel it, government employees feel it, entertainers feel it. The atmosphere encourages conformity. Standing apart carries risks. Expressing unpopular opinions carries risks. Many individuals decide that silence is safer. The entertainment industry provides a particularly revealing example. Film studios, television networks, production companies all operate within a climate where political accusations can have serious consequences. Certain artists find themselves investigated or excluded from professional opportunities. Some lose employment. Others struggle to rebuild careers. The public debate becomes intense. Supporters argue that vigilance is necessary. Critics warn that fear is undermining fundamental freedoms. Both sides believe they are protecting something important. The result is a period of tension that leaves lasting marks on American culture. Meanwhile, children grow up within this atmosphere. Schools emphasize patriotism. Teachers discuss national values. Students learn about international conflicts. Many participate in activities designed to promote civic responsibility. Most of these efforts are sincere and well-intentioned, yet they also reflect the broader anxieties of the era. The Cold War is not merely a geopolitical contest. It becomes part of childhood, part of education, part of identity. Young people learn that the world is divided between competing systems. The lesson shapes how many view global events for years to come. At workplaces, conversations frequently turn toward politics. Co-workers discuss international crises, military developments, government decisions. The subject feels unavoidable. Families gather around televisions to watch speeches and news broadcasts. Major events attract enormous audiences. People want information. They want reassurance. They want certainty. Unfortunately, certainty is often difficult to find. International politics rarely offers simple answers. The fear of hidden threats extends beyond government and media. It influences community life as well. Neighbors observe one another. Organizations monitor reputations. Memberships in certain groups may attract attention. Individuals sometimes worry about how others perceive them. Again, the most unsettling aspect is how ordinary these concerns become. A society can adapt to fear just as it adapts to almost anything else. What initially feels alarming gradually becomes routine. People learn to live alongside anxiety. They continue working, raising families, planning futures, even while uncertainty lingers in the background. As afternoon turns to evening, the contradiction becomes increasingly visible. The 1950s are often remembered as an age of confidence, and in many ways they are. Economic confidence, technological confidence, cultural confidence. Yet beneath that confidence lies persistent insecurity. Fear of war, fear of political enemies, fear of social change, fear of the unknown. The decade contains both emotions simultaneously. Optimism and anxiety coexist. That combination helps explain many behaviors that seem strange today. When people feel threatened, they often seek stability. When uncertainty grows, conformity can become attractive. The desire for order becomes stronger. The desire for certainty becomes stronger. The desire to identify threats becomes stronger. History shows this pattern repeatedly. The 1950s provide one of its clearest examples. By nightfall, living rooms glow softly with television light. Families discuss current events before preparing for bed. Children overhear fragments of adult conversations. Some understand very little. Others understand more than adults realize. The atmosphere of the era seeps quietly into daily life. Not through dramatic events alone, through repetition, through headlines, through conversations, through habits, through fears that become familiar. And perhaps that is what makes this chapter of the decade so unsettling. The most powerful forces are not always visible. Sometimes they exist inside people's minds, inside assumptions, inside anxieties, inside beliefs shared by millions. Those invisible forces shape decisions, relationships, and institutions in ways that history only fully recognizes years later. And they help explain why so many disturbing practices remained accepted for so long, even as evidence of their problems slowly began accumulating beneath the surface. And they help explain why so many disturbing practices remained accepted for so long, even as evidence of their problems slowly began accumulating beneath the surface. The morning returns again, as it always does. Milk bottles at doorsteps, newspapers folded neatly, cars warming in driveways. A world built on routine. But beneath that routine, something else is quietly shifting. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily, like pressure building behind a wall. In the 1950s, change rarely announces itself all at once. It arrives in fragments. A court decision here, a scientific report there, a protest in a distant city, a conversation in a classroom that lingers longer than expected. Most people do not notice these fragments as a pattern. They appear disconnected, small, isolated. But history is rarely experienced in full view. It is experienced in pieces. One of the most important slow shifts of the decade involves public awareness. Awareness of inequality. Awareness of health risks. Awareness of political tension. Awareness of social contradiction. At first, these awareness points exist mainly among specialists, researchers, activists, journalists, teachers. Over time, they begin to spread. Not evenly, not quickly, but steadily. In coffee shops, people begin discussing ideas that were once rarely spoken aloud. In universities, students question older assumptions. In churches and civic groups, debates become more complex. In newspapers, opinion sections grow more diverse. The structure of certainty begins to loosen at the edges. This does not mean the decade suddenly becomes unstable. It means the surface begins to show fine cracks of questioning. And those cracks matter, because they signal that normalization is not permanent. Many of the practices described across earlier decades, unsafe products, rigid social roles, political fear, environmental neglect, remain in place for most of the 1950s. But awareness begins accumulating in the background, like water slowly gathering behind a dam. In medicine, researchers begin documenting risks more carefully. In industry, safety conversations become more formalized. In environmental science, early warnings start appearing in academic circles. In civil rights movements, voices grow louder and more organized. Each of these developments is still limited in reach, but each one signals that acceptance is beginning to weaken. In daily life, most people continue their routines unchanged. Work, school, family, entertainment, shopping. But subtle differences appear. A newspaper article that questions an old assumption. A radio discussion that introduces a new concern. A neighbor who expresses a different opinion than before. These moments are small, but they accumulate. And accumulation is what eventually drives transformation. Even within families, conversations slowly evolve. Parents and children may disagree more openly. Young people may ask more questions. Older generations may defend established norms more firmly. This is not sudden conflict. It is gradual adjustment. A society negotiating its own boundaries. Meanwhile, many of the decade's hidden risks remain active in everyday environments. Homes still contain materials later considered hazardous. Workplaces still carry risks that will later be reduced. Roads still lack safety features that will become standard. Social systems still reflect inequalities that will later be challenged. But the important shift is this. People begin noticing. Not everyone, not all at once, but enough. Enough to create tension between what is and what should be. That tension is one of the most important forces in history. It is uncomfortable. It is slow. It is often invisible from the inside. But it is the beginning of change. By late afternoon, the familiar rhythm returns again. Children come home. Adults return from work. Television turns on. Dinner is prepared. Life continues as always. Yet now, beneath the routine, there is something else present. A sense, still faint, that not everything is as fixed as it once seemed. That some ideas can be questioned. That some systems can be re-examined. That some normal things might not remain normal forever. As evening settles across towns and cities, the lights of homes glow against the darkening sky. Inside those homes, conversations continue. Some light, some serious, some uncertain. And in that uncertainty, history quietly begins preparing for its next stage. Because the 1950s are not just an endpoint of old systems, they are also the beginning of their reevaluation. And that process, slow, uneven, and often invisible at first, will eventually reshape everything that seems stable during this decade. What comes next is not immediate change. It is pressure building, questions forming, assumptions weakening, and beneath it all, a growing realization that many things once accepted without thought may not survive the scrutiny of the years ahead. And beneath it all, a growing realization that many things once accepted without thought may not survive the scrutiny of the years ahead. The night deepens. Streetlights cast long reflections on quiet roads. Houses settle into darkness. television broadcasts end. Radio signals continue softly in some homes. And the world of the 1950s, for a brief moment, appears still again. But history never truly stops. Even in silence, systems continue working. Factories hum in the distance. Late shifts continue in hospitals and transport lines. Police patrol familiar routes. Trains cross long stretches of land carrying goods and passengers. Life does not pause. It simply shifts into a quieter register. In this stillness, it becomes easier to notice something important. Many of the decade's most disturbing elements are not isolated events. They are patterns. Patterns of trust placed in institutions. Patterns of conformity shaped by culture. Patterns of risk accepted as normal. Patterns of inequality maintained through habit. Patterns of fear absorbed through repetition. Individually, each element may seem ordinary. Together, they form a structure that defines how society operates. And that structure only becomes visible when people begin to step back from it. In the 1950s, very few people have the luxury of stepping back completely. Most are inside the system, living it, responding to it, adapting to it. A worker thinking about tomorrow's shift. A parent thinking about children's futures. A student thinking about exams. A shopkeeper thinking about business. Life is immediate, practical, demanding. Yet even within this immediacy, subtle awareness continues growing. A journalist notices inconsistencies in public messaging. A scientist notices gaps in safety understanding. A teacher notices changes in student questions. A doctor notices patterns in patient conditions. These observations do not immediately transform society, but they accumulate quietly, like notes written in the margins of a book that many people are reading at the same time. One of the most significant features of this period is how slowly awareness spreads compared to how quickly daily life continues. A new concern may take years to become widely accepted, but during those years, normal life continues uninterrupted. This creates a strange overlap. People live inside a world that is already being questioned without fully realizing it. Consider workplace safety again. Even as early concerns begin emerging in expert circles, most workers continue their routines unchanged. The same machinery, the same materials, the same procedures. But somewhere in research reports and internal discussions, questions are forming. Could this be improved? Could this be safer? Should this be changed? Those questions rarely reach everyday conversation immediately, but they exist. And once they exist, they rarely disappear. The same pattern appears in environmental awareness. Early warnings about pollution and chemical exposure begin circulating among specialists. At first, they are not widely understood, but they exist, and they begin to grow. In social structures as well, early challenges to inequality are forming. Movements are organizing. Legal arguments are developing. Public awareness is slowly expanding. None of this yet dominates everyday headlines for most people, but it is there, building quietly beneath the surface. The 1950s, therefore, contain two overlapping realities: the visible reality of stability, prosperity, and routine, and the less visible reality of tension, questioning, and early transformation. Most people experience only the first in their daily awareness, but history is shaped by the interaction between both. As the night continues, homes remain lit by small lamps and television glow in some rooms. Families rest. Workers prepare for the next day. Children sleep. The cycle repeats. But change does not sleep. It continues at a slower pace. In institutions, in conversations, in research, in growing awareness that the world is not static, even when it feels that way. And this realization leads toward an important truth about the decade as a whole. The 1950s are often remembered as a time of certainty, but they were also a time when certainty was quietly beginning to weaken. Not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily, in ways most people could not yet fully see. And as this quiet shift deepens, it begins to reshape how later generations will understand everything that came before, especially the hidden costs, overlooked dangers, and normalized practices that defined everyday life far more than official stories ever admitted. And as this quiet shift deepens, it begins to reshape how later generations will understand everything that came before, especially the hidden costs, overlooked dangers, and normalized practices that defined everyday life far more than official stories ever admitted. The early morning returns again, but something feels slightly different in hindsight, though not to the people living it. For them, it is still the same rhythm. Milk delivered, coffee brewed, newspaper unfolded, radio switched on, a nation moving forward through habit more than reflection. Yet, historians looking back often notice something the participants could not fully see. The 1950s are not a single story. They are layered, a surface of confidence. And beneath it, multiple undercurrents running in different directions. Economic expansion continues shaping daily life. Factories still produce at high volume. Suburbs continue expanding outward from cities. Consumer goods continue multiplying in homes. The language of progress remains strong. Better living, modern convenience, scientific improvement. These phrases dominate advertisements and public messaging. But beneath them, the cost structure of modern life is becoming more complex. Some costs are financial, some are social, some are environmental, some are health-related, and many are not immediately visible. This invisibility is key, because societies rarely adjust quickly to risks they cannot easily see. In workplaces, production efficiency remains a dominant priority. Time matters, output matters, competition matters. Safety improvements do exist, but they often develop unevenly. Some industries adopt them earlier, others later. Some workplaces improve conditions quickly, others change slowly. Workers themselves often develop strong practical knowledge. They learn which machines are dangerous, which tasks require caution, which routines are safest. But this knowledge is often informal, not standardized, not universally applied. Across different cities and countries, conditions vary widely. In homes, consumer life continues expanding. New products enter kitchens, bathrooms, and living rooms at a steady pace. Synthetic materials become common. Chemical-based cleaners become standard. Packaged foods become more widespread. Each innovation brings convenience. And each carries assumptions about safety that are not always fully tested over long periods. People trust packaging, trust branding, trust official approval, trust the idea that modern life is improving by default. This trust is not irrational. It is built on real improvements in many areas of life during the post-war period. But trust without full information can sometimes create blind spots. In public health, early warning signs about certain exposures exist in scattered research. In environmental science, initial observations of pollution patterns are being recorded. In social policy, studies of inequality are beginning to appear more frequently. However, these insights are not yet unified into mainstream public understanding. They exist in fragments, distributed across institutions. The public often sees only simplified conclusions, not the complexity behind them. Meanwhile, daily life continues with remarkable consistency. Families still gather at dinner tables. Children still attend school. Workers still commute. Communities still organize events. Religious gatherings continue. Sports remain popular. Entertainment continues to expand. Life does not pause for reflection. It rarely does. That is one of history's most important realities. Change is often recognized only after it has already begun. Not at the moment it starts, but later, when patterns become clearer in hindsight. As the afternoon unfolds, more subtle shifts appear in communication. Newspapers occasionally publish more critical perspectives. Academic discussions become more open in certain fields. Public debates begin including previously marginal viewpoints. These changes are small but significant. They indicate that intellectual space is slowly expanding. Ideas that were once difficult to express begin to surface. Not everywhere, not equally, but increasingly. In households, conversations between generations sometimes reflect this shift. Younger people may ask more questions. Older people may respond with established explanations. Neither side fully realizes they are participating in a larger historical transition. It simply feels like everyday conversation. By evening, the familiar patterns return once again. Television, radio, dinner, news, routine. But beneath routine, a gradual reorganization of thought is underway. People are beginning, quietly and unevenly, to recognize that not all aspects of their world are fixed. That some systems are products of history rather than necessity. That some assumptions may not hold indefinitely. And that realization, even when faint, is powerful. Because once a society begins to see its own assumptions, it becomes capable of questioning them. And questioning is the first step toward transformation. The 1950s, therefore, stand at a threshold. Not fully in one world, not yet in the next, but positioned between confidence and critique, between certainty and doubt, between acceptance and examination. And as the night grows still once more, that threshold remains unseen by most who live within it, yet unmistakable to those who look back through time and recognize how quietly the foundations of modern life were already beginning to shift beneath the surface. And as the night grows still once more, that threshold remains unseen by most who live within it, yet unmistakable to those who look back through time and recognize how quietly the foundations of modern life were already beginning to shift beneath the surface. The final stretch of the night is the quietest. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is happening without attention. Cities breathe in low mechanical rhythms. Streetlights hold their steady glow. Homes remain closed and still. And in that stillness, the 1950s feel almost frozen. But beneath that surface calm, the structure of everyday life continues to move forward in countless small ways. A factory finishes a shift and begins preparing for the next. A hospital receives an emergency case in the early hours. A long-distance train crosses borders of towns and counties in silence. A night shift worker takes a break under dim fluorescent lighting. Life is continuous, uninterrupted, and deeply ordinary. That ordinariness is important, because much of what defined the 1950s, its disturbing elements, its hidden risks, its social pressures, its blind spots, did not exist as dramatic disruptions in daily experience. They existed as ordinary background conditions, conditions that people adapted to, worked within, rarely questioned. This is how history often behaves when it is still happening, not as a headline, but as repetition, as habit, as accepted structure. In earlier parts of the decade, we saw how this applied to household risks, workplace dangers, environmental neglect, media influence, political anxiety, and social expectations. Each one, in isolation, could seem manageable, even normal, but when viewed together, they form a pattern of a society operating with confidence in systems that were not fully understood. That confidence is not unique to the 1950s. Every era carries it in different forms. But in this decade, it becomes especially visible in hindsight because so many foundational systems, technology, medicine, media, industry, suburban life, global politics, were rapidly expanding at the same time. Expansion creates momentum. Momentum creates trust. Trust reduces scrutiny, and reduced scrutiny allows hidden problems to persist longer than they otherwise might. Yet, even within this structure, change is never fully absent. It is simply uneven. Some individuals begin asking questions earlier than others. Some institutions respond faster than others. Some fields evolve rapidly, while others remain stable for longer periods. This unevenness is what makes historical transition difficult to recognize in real time. There is no single moment when the 1950s end and a new world begins. Instead, there is overlap, old systems continuing, new ideas emerging, old assumptions holding, new critiques forming, and the two existing together in tension. By this point in the narrative, that tension is clearer, not because everything has changed, but because awareness of change has started to form. And awareness itself is transformative. Because once people recognize that their world is constructed, not fixed, they begin to imagine alternatives. Different safety standards, different social arrangements, different medical practices, different environmental priorities, different cultural expectations. None of these ideas dominate the decade, but they exist, quietly, gradually, increasingly. As the final hours of the night pass, most homes remain unaware of these slow shifts. Families sleep, workers rest, children dream. The physical world remains unchanged from the outside. But historically, the ground is no longer completely still. Something is beginning to move beneath it. Not loudly, not suddenly, but persistently. And that persistence is what will eventually reshape the decades that follow. The 1950s will later be remembered in simplified terms, an age of prosperity, conformity, and optimism. And those memories will contain truth. But they will also omit the underlying complexity, the risks accepted as normal, the inequalities maintained through habit, the fears absorbed into daily life, and the early warnings that were only partially understood at the time. To understand the decade fully is not to condemn it, nor to romanticize it. It is to recognize it as it was. A moment in history where confidence and uncertainty existed side by side, where progress and problems advanced together, where ordinary life carried extraordinary contradictions, and where many of the things that would later be considered unacceptable were, for a time, simply part of everyday existence. Now, as the final quiet settles in, the image of the decade becomes less like a fixed picture and more like a moving transition, one that is still unfolding even as the lights go out. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the still streets, the dim glow of porch lights, the distant hum of industry, the silence of homes resting after a long day. And beneath that silence, imagine the slow turning of history itself, unnoticed, continuous, and already moving toward what comes next. Close your eyes for a moment. The night is still, but not empty. It holds echoes of everything that came before, factory noise fading into memory, television light dimming in living rooms, newspaper ink drying on pages that shaped opinions without anyone noticing how deeply they were being shaped. The 1950s do not end as a dramatic event. There is no final moment where everything stops and something new begins. Instead, it is more like a slow exhale, a gradual release of certainty, a quiet transition from unquestioned normality into the beginning of awareness. And that awareness, once it starts, never fully disappears again. As the decade recedes, people begin to look back differently. They see the prosperity again, but now with added questions. They remember the safety, but now with awareness of risks that were not understood at the time. They recall the stability, but now with recognition of the pressures that held it together. And they notice something else too. How much of what was considered normal depended not on truth alone, but on shared belief, shared trust, shared silence, shared repetition. That is what makes the 1950s so haunting when examined closely. Not because people were unaware of life, but because they were living inside systems that defined awareness itself. Homes felt safe, even when hazards were present. Work felt stable, even when risks were embedded. Media felt informative, even when it filtered reality. Social roles felt natural, even when they were constructed. And fear felt manageable, even when it was shaping behavior on a national scale. Yet even here, there is balance. This is not a story of only darkness. It is also a story of momentum. Medical progress saved lives. Technological innovation expanded comfort. Economic growth lifted millions into new standards of living. Communication connected distant communities more tightly than ever before. Many people experienced genuine improvement in their daily existence. And that matters, because history is never one-sided. It is always layered. What makes the 1950s so powerful to study is not that they were uniquely disturbing. It is that they were deeply human, a reflection of how societies behave when knowledge is incomplete, confidence is high, and systems are expanding faster than understanding can fully keep pace. And so, as we reach the end of this long journey through its hidden corners, we do not arrive at a conclusion of judgment. We arrive at something quieter: recognition. Recognition that normality is temporary, that every generation inherits assumptions it does not fully question, and that what feels obvious in one era may feel unimaginable in another. The night is nearly over now. The world is still the same in structure, but not in perception, because once something has been seen clearly, it cannot be unseen. And that is how history changes, first in awareness, then in language, and finally in behavior. Before the next morning arrives, there is only silence left. Not an ending, not a conclusion, just a pause between one way of seeing the world and the next. Breathe slowly, let the quiet settle, and imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a decade that believed it understood everything, just before it began to learn how much more there still was to understand.